Good morning, everybody. What's going on? Welcome back to Movie Mornings. I'm your host, Don Martino, and here we are going to talk about the Batman. Full spoilers, you've been warned, so check out now if you don't want to hear it. But before we get started, please hit the like button below, subscribe to the channel, leave feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, and hit that bell for notifications. Also, if you haven't done so already, please go follow us on Spotify, and if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening on Spotify, go subscribe to the YouTube, youtube.com/c/Anorax. And I want to thank everybody for joining here today. Got a lot of thoughts about the Batman. The non-spoiler review is up on the channel as well, so if you don't want to hear spoilers, you can go check that out also, or otherwise. Sitting down with me today is Mr. Jose Espinel to start off with. And Jose, how you doing today? There you are.
What's up, man? I'm glad to be here. I know I missed the Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler breakdown, and I know you don't want me to miss this one, so I'm excited to be here to talk to you guys spoiler about this movie, because I know it's about to be a lot of fun and there's a lot to talk about.
I'm stoked that you're here, dude.
I'm so excited, man. I know you really wanted me here in this one, and so I dedicated myself to watch this movie, and now I'm here, and so I'm excited. I can't wait.
Well, that was before I saw the movie. I was like, man, I really want to have you here. And then now that I've seen it, it's like, man, I'm so glad you're here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and that's what I mean. And now that I've seen it too, I'm like, well, I'm glad that I'm here for this one, because this, oh my gosh, this movie. I feel so energetic. I'm ready. Like, let's do it, man. I can't wait.
No regrets.
Oh, 100%. No regrets. No. 100%. I'm buying myself a Batman hat after this. 100%.
Also sitting down here today, guys, is Mr. David Tresch. David, how you doing?
I am doing excellent, guys. I'm also, much like Jose, extremely happy that I was able to make this specific spoiler review. I went in with very hard hopes on this one and was very happy with the results. I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Hell yeah, guys. And we're gonna go ahead and just kind of get right into it. So we're gonna start with our non-spoiler thoughts, actually, and then we'll probably go into some spoiler stuff after. So I'll just kind of give a quick summary, because my non-spoiler review is 20 minutes long. So if you guys want to know a little bit more, just go ahead and head over there. I love this movie. I think this movie is amazing. I think this is like the best Batman movie ever made. I think Robert Pattinson is the best Batman. I think Jeffrey Wright is the best Jim Gordon. Is Colin Farrell the best Penguin? I don't know. It's debatable. I think Zoe Kravitz is the best Catwoman. I think, who am I missing here? Paul Dano, obviously, the best Riddler. This movie is incredible.
Oh, by far.
Jeffrey Wright,
100%.
Best Commissioner Gordon. I think I said that one already. I don't care. I'm excited. I'm so excited to talk about this. And Matt Reeves directed the hell out of this movie. This is not an action film. That's one thing I would say right off the bat. If you're going in there looking for a popcorn action flick, that's not what you're going to get here. This is a completely different type of Batman movie, completely different type of comic book movie. I love the stuff that DC is doing on the dark side. Joker became, in my opinion, the best comic book movie out there, and this Batman movie became the best Batman movie out there. When it comes to their darker shit, give me more of it. I think it's making all the other comic book stuff look like accents to all this stuff. So that's, my opinion of this. I love this movie so much. It has a detective aspect that I've always wanted to see from Batman, and so much more. But without further ado, I'll let these boys talk here for a second. Jose, what did you think of the film?
I mean, I agree with you 100%. Robert Pattinson, my favorite Batman to this day so far. I mean, he outdid himself in this movie. Colin Farrell, as Penguin was great. Paul Dano as Riddler, honestly, he gave me like Saw vibes for some reason. I don't know why. He just did with the with the riddles, and the way that he kind of like put tape over. I guess that's kind of spoilers, but like the way that he went about with his victims. And then Zoe Kravitz, as Catwoman, she was phenomenal. I absolutely loved the chemistry that Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz had in this movie. Matt Reeves directed the hell out of this, like you said. Honestly, it's my favorite Batman movie for sure. I can't wait to see more about from Robert Pattinson. Like you said, it's not an action film. I mean, there's like a couple action scenes, but besides that, I mean, it's really just, like you said, the detective side, which I really enjoyed from this movie, because we haven't really seen that side of Batman really until now. And so I really, really enjoyed that part of this movie, and I just enjoyed it overall as a film.
Yeah. Jumping off the point of Matt Reeves again, like directed the hell out of this movie. I just love the shots of Gotham. I like the way the world of Gotham here that he built. Like it just feels so
Mhm.
dangerous, and you can
Oh, yeah.
never turn the corner without feeling how dangerous this place really
It's
is.
very, I was about to say, very, very dangerous, dark
Mhm.
place.
Yeah.
Anything can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those places, and I really enjoyed. I liked the darker side that
Yeah.
this movie brought. In, with this Robert Pattinson side of Batman, and the darker side that Robert Pattinson brought with this Batman role as well. I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Uh,
I agree.
It was a different Batman, which is what I liked because, like I've said in this channel before, I'll say it again. I like when companies bring new stuff to the table, and I really, really enjoyed this different side of Batman that we got with
I do
Robert
too.
Pattinson.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, Robert Pattinson, I don't think anyone could have done this side of Batman as good as Robert Pattinson did.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that Matt Reeves decided to go with Robert Pattinson for this Batman. And say what you want about Robert Pattinson. I mean, obviously, most people know him for a vampire in Twilight. But he
Forgive him.
Exactly. It's like you can forgive him now because he outdid himself with this film as Batman. Like he killed it, and I can't wait to see what comes next for Robert Pattinson as Batman because I think he's got a very long future ahead of him as Batman. Honestly.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I second pretty much all that. But Dave, what did you think about the movie? Non-spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, you guys hit most of the points there. Yeah, all the acting performances were outstanding. Most of the performances here, from Batman himself to the Riddler to Catwoman, were the best we've ever seen them. The Riddler too, I mean, really just caught me off guard with how stellar his performance was. In your non-spoiler, you made a perfect point, and that is that the movie has a very Zodiac-like vibe to it in terms of the mystery, the solving, and even though there's no action really, there's plenty of action, but even though it's not an action movie, you're constantly in suspense in the next development of what's happening in the story. And then in terms of the world building, I was really happy with what they did with Gotham, the crime of it, and more importantly, with the other Batman, something we don't usually see is a Batman that I think is more human, which is something we haven't seen since like the older Batman movies. I'd say like 89 in terms of like, both Ben Affleck and Christian Bale were like pretty OP in this one, and it's just good to see that, like, because Batman in real life would essentially just be like a UFC fighter that, in a lot of his fight sequences, he's not just walking through these dudes. I mean, he's taking a few hits and taking them on the chin like a champ, and that's who Batman is supposed to be, not someone who's just throwing hands with Superman and coming out on top necessarily.
True.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dave. I thought about you when I was watching this movie because I thought of you because basically that scene between, and we're just gonna get right into spoilers now, folks, but that scene between
Let's get it.
Catwoman and Batman with the safe and everything, and the way that fighting style was, and I was kind of, because you always have like a really good opinion on fight scenes and stuff, so I was really wondering. I was like, what does Dave think of this? Like, does he think that this is magnificently
Loved
done?
it.
Yeah, I
yes,
agree, yeah.
Absolutely loved it. There, like I said, it wasn't jam packed with action, but the action sequences you get are
They're great.
good.
Yeah,
they are amazing. I mean, just like the very first one that you see between
him and
Batman and the henchman in the subway, just perfectly choreographed. Like I said, right off the bat, I was so happy to just see that. Like, again, he's basically like a great mixed martial artist, but when you're fighting 8 dudes, you're gonna get caught by some punches here and there, and just like the man that he is, he just came out on top. He was great choreographed fight scene. Took on all seven of them, took a few hits to the chin, but came out on top. And yes,
and a couple shots.
And a couple of shots. And then, the Catwoman scene with Catwoman breaking into the safe and, they're running with one another was absolutely excellent.
Yeah.
The back and forth. And I like the suspense of, like, it's a crazy action scene where, like, they're really trying to hurt each other, but at the same time, they really got to keep quiet because there's officers just outside the door there. But the action in this was stellar. And something that you brought up earlier that I'll drop at the end here, the action was, I was really happy with the unveiling of the Batmobile coming in so late.
Yes.
Because the movie was so good that when it got to that, I forgot the Batmobile existed, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
I 100% agree with you on that part. I watching this movie, I just totally forgot that there even was a Batmobile until it was revealed. I was like, "Oh shit! Wait, there's a Batmobile!" And then that whole scene of him chasing that guy when he goes through the fire and like hits the dude, and then that like upside down scene was phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
like
that
Matt
upside down
Reeves.
shot of the penguin.
Oh my goodness, that was incredible. Matt Reeves
Right.
killed it with that. That was probably one of my favorite shots in the entire movie. Was that upside down scene when Robert Pattinson is walking up to him? Like that was phenomenal. I mean, obviously we saw it in the trailer, but watching it in the theaters in the movie was just that much better. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it, and like you said, the stuff with Catwoman, the riddles as well throughout this movie. I loved the fact that we got to see, obviously, like we said, the detective side of Batman in this movie. Him solving, knowing all the answers to all the riddles, was phenomenal. I absolutely enjoyed the suspense and detectiveness of this movie. Honestly,
well, you buy the aspect of the Batmobile though, like not coming until later, or you forget about it so much because you're so immersed in this year two Batman. It's not this. You buy that this is only his second year being Batman, and especially like when you look into like how like heartless he is at times. Like when it comes down to like that scene with Catwoman when they're talking and she's like, you don't really give a shit what goes happens to me in there, and he
exactly you find that he really just only cares about himself, really.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. He didn't really have like a lot of caring, which is such a good tee up to the moment at the end. And we're skipping all around here, but the moment at the end when he takes down that goon and the guy takes off his mask, he's like, I am vengeance, and Batman like looks at him, and they have the moment, which I think is like the best moment in the movie, when Batman realizes I need to be a symbol of hope, not a symbol of fear. And I think that's like, that was so defining for this
another scene that really had me like almost in tears too was the scene with Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne talking to Alfred, Andy Serkis, in the hospital. That whole scene there about like his father and stuff, that also like had me like feeling some kind of way too, man. Like that scene was incredible.
I was gonna talk to you because you were rooting for Andy Serkis in this role, and he was great.
Oh my goodness, he killed it as Alfred. Honestly, like Andy Serkis, despite what people might say about him, he's just a talented actor, man.
The second you see him, he's a different Alfred because he looks rough. He's got like a lot more to him, I guess, if that makes sense. Like he seems like the type of guy that could take down Batman. He could if he wanted to. Maybe not like Batman with the gadgets, but he could take down Bruce Wayne.
So he's kind of different from the Alfred that we had, like for example, for like Ben Affleck, where Andy Serkis's Alfred was more of like helping Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne with like the detective side. He was more of like helping him with it, versus the Alfred from Ben Affleck's, which was helping him more with like the technology side. In this one, he was more of like helping him with the detective stuff, kind of like breaking stuff down.
Which is like a lot
closer, I really enjoyed.
To the comic iteration,
exactly,
in my opinion.
Which is why I really enjoyed Andy Serkis's performance here as Alfred, because he absolutely killed it.
And one of the things I definitely have to say in terms of the riddles and the puzzles that are given to us that I absolutely loved, and them solving it, was the fact that the delivery of them was perfect. Where you're left, they ask the question of the riddle, and then they actually leave you a second to sit there in the theater and think about the answer.
It's funny.
Which is great for me because as you guys know, I run the escape room. So I'm good at riddles, and I actually caught one of the riddles, only one because there were some pretty good ones, but I caught one of the riddles, and then he said it. I was like, yes, I got it. I was right. But that was every single riddle and puzzle that they went through left you in the suspense of delivering you the question and then making you really sit and think about the answer before Batman's delivery.
And I agree with you with that. Like in the theater, it had me like trying to figure out what the answer was, and I never really was able to get the answer before Batman. But I feel like the riddles were also placed perfectly within the movie. Like the riddles weren't like misplaced. They were perfectly placed within the scene that they needed to be in, which is what I really enjoyed about the riddles as well.
Well, the scene, like I would go back into this. The scene like with the guy who had the bomb strapped around his neck, and you are looking at this guy, he's corrupt, but you're really scared for his life in that moment.
Exactly.
Like, still, I love that. I love that suspense that they built because those riddles were extremely complicated, as you guys were saying. Like they're not tough. Easy to get. And the fact that like Batman was kind of like popping them off, but then he goes into riddles. I love this. He does one riddle or one or two that I think Batman gets, and then there's like one that Batman does not know the answers to, and like he can't get them.
Yeah, one of those was obviously the name of the rat.
Yeah, like he made it personal.
Right before when the dude blew up and died. That was the one riddle he didn't know.
Like he made it very personal.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which I really enjoyed too. from the movie was that aspect of like him not knowing all the riddles, riddle making them very personal.
Yeah.
Making Batman really try and like work hard to try and figure out the answers to those riddles,
Yeah.
which is what I really enjoyed too from the movie.
I would say this too. I don't know what you guys think of this, but in the movie's like structure and tone, it doesn't feel like it's trying to be another movie. You know, like it feels like it's trying to be its very own movie, just in general. Like you see the influences of Seven, Zodiac, Saw, whatever. But the movie itself doesn't feel like it's trying to be those movies. Like it's very much every scene felt original, felt new. That it was structured in a very original new way, but in a way that just was also so compelling. And like Dave was saying, I mean, it's just so suspenseful through every scene. And then I thought the club sequences are the weakest part of the movie, but they're great still. You know what I mean? Like I still enjoyed that. Like even I'm not saying anything bad about it. That's a compliment to this movie. Like your weakest point is still great. You know, like that's how great this movie is in my opinion. Like,
because even with the club sequence, you get the one where Catwoman has Batman's contact lenses, which were pretty cool technology. I hadn't seen it in another movie, believe it or not. I feel like I should have. Maybe they are, and I just overlooked them. But even that scene with Catwoman infiltrating, the underground club of the club was a really excellent sequence, and stood up to the others. It was more so, I'd say, the other club scenes that didn't quite hold up as much. And even then, they were so great, super engaging. And when they were happening, I had to use the bathroom most of the movie, and I couldn't because I was sitting there.
Yeah.
Waiting for the next line to be delivered, and I couldn't miss one answer.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I know it constantly goes back into the same thing with all the riddles and all that, and it's just it's wonderful. Now, one thing I didn't mention this in the non-spoiler because I'm not even sure if it's confirmed yet, but John Turturro is Falcone in this movie, and I thought he was great too. Like he did feel like the top guy. He wasn't being cartoonish like he is in the Transformers movies. He was being, he was acting very well in this movie. It was very straight, his performance. I loved him in this. And I liked when the whole exchange between him and Bruce Wayne when Bruce went to go get answers, I thought that stuff worked extremely well. Catwoman, the more we talk about this, there's just so much going on in this movie, but like Catwoman, finally confronting him with the weapon and like that stuff just played really well. Batman having to stop her. That was just amazing. I mean, I love that exchange.
The whole El Rata Alada too, that whole thing, like until you figured out like exactly who it was and stuff like that. That whole suspense part too, I really enjoyed throughout the movie, and the whole the misuse of El versus La in that movie, I also really enjoyed because he was pronouncing it El Rata when it's really La Rata because in Spanish, it's feminine, but he was trying to use the masculine version there, which I really enjoyed too. Like that they used that kind of Spanish, those Spanish words throughout that movie and kind of misused it, to kind of make it more suspenseful. I really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I remember the opening of this movie. Again, we're jumping all over the place, but I remember the opening of this movie when. Not just the monologue, but like even before that, when you see like the Riddler, right, tape the guy up, like you were saying earlier, Jose, I just had this confidence that this movie was going to be great. Like something just like came over me, like there was this confidence of like this is going to be something new, and it really was, and entirely something new. I mean, and then he had the. I'm back. I'm sorry. I went out for a second. Then we had the monologue. We had the monologue. We heard Robert Pattinson speak. I would have never gathered from the trailers this is the approach he was going to take with the voice and the infliction. So like the second he started doing his monologue, I was like, oh wow, he really brought a gravitas I wasn't expecting to it. And it was really, really good. And just his monologue really explains everything you need to know, right there in the beginning. And if this was a movie that existed in a world where we've never had Batman before, but this is just what the movie is. Like this is the first Batman introduction we ever had. This movie still works.
Great intro.
100%.
It's because of that introduction, and it still works as a movie in general. So that's another thing I like about it is how much it can just stand on its own legs. It doesn't need any prior thing, and it does make the effort to be very disconnected from everything. Now we know because this was a big question. It's not connected to Todd Phillips's Joker movie. Joaquin Phoenix is not going to be the Joker here. We know this now. That's another thing.
Which is kind of upsetting, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, but is it though? I mean, like, because I don't know if I'm not saying it wouldn't have worked, but I don't know that because of how great this movie is on its own. I don't need it. You know, like that was kind of my feeling. And like when I started to hear it's Barry Keoghan as the actor who's going to be playing Joker. When I started to hear him speak, I was like, oh wow, you know, that's okay. I'm interested, you know, like it didn't really matter to me. Like, I think the scene still made an impact, you know, it didn't need Joaquin.
I guess that begs the question then, like, if there is going to be a Batman, who's going to be the Batman in Joaquin Phoenix's Joker's realm?
There might not be one.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing is, like, if there is going to be one, who's going to play him? I mean, there might not be one. I mean, that's just going to make people think, like, if there's going to be a Batman, who's going to play the Batman in Joaquin Phoenix's Joker's universe?
Well, I think one of the great things about the Joker movie, and you know, is the fact that we did see Batman in there. He was just younger. He was a kid still. And I just don't think it's what they were making. That's not the movie they were making, you know. And it's the same thing here. I just don't think it was the movie they were making. You know, I don't think they were making a movie in Joaquin's universe. I think they were making their own universe, and it feels very much like it is. True. And I'm okay with the fact that it's not Joaquin. I was perfectly fine with that. Like, I thought this Barry Keoghan sounds like he's going to do well. I like the little hint that we did see, you know. He looks very comic book accurate, I might add. Pretty close from what we did see, which isn't very much. But I thought that exchange between him and Riddler was both necessary, but also both necessary and just very compelling, you know, and just shows you more and more that this world is going to be very grounded as compared to some of the others we had, and they're going to keep it that way. So I like that a lot. Did you do the comparison? I was asked Dave, did you do the Dark Knight? Did you try to get a gauge on the comparison?
I started to, but I just fell asleep halfway through. Not because of the Dark Knight. I love the Dark Knight, but it was just so late by the time I was watching it. That being said, from halfway through the film, some of the things I'll definitely say thus far was the Riddler's performance as the main villain of this was on par with Heath Ledger's Joker, which I didn't see coming. Not saying it's better by any means. I still think Heath Ledger's performance was probably better in my eyes, but the Riddler definitely stayed up to terms with it. I mean, he really paired up well. The Batman in Robert Pattinson's Batman was leaps and bounds better, especially when I went back to the Dark Knight and just heard his voice again, and I was like, I forgot that's kind of irritating for me. And the intro, I will say, like we were talking about, is probably one of the strongest parts of the movie for me. The setup for this was great. You know, poor Bruce Wayne's parents I've seen die more than the leads of Supernatural, so I'm glad not to have to watch it again.
It's nice. Yeah, it was refreshing.
And the intro, again, it was not at all what I was expecting them to do, but it was great. Something about the Riddler when he killed the mayor was very chilling about him just standing there. And in terms of his performance, a lot of it was the breathing to me. A lot of the breathing that he does when he's actually in the murder scenes was really chilling to me. And much like Heath Ledger's Joker, when he grabs like Rachel's face at the party, it was creeping me out to the point where I was actually visibly uncomfortable. But that's how good it was for me.
Yeah. I know somebody personally, and it's all, it's all subjective. It's all to opinion, but I know somebody personally who thinks Jim Carrey is better than this, but I mean, that's an interesting take.
You should unfriend them, but
but it is what it is. I mean, that baffled me because this is in other words, I'm in agreement with you. It's on that par. It's on that level. So a take like that really baffled me. And a lot of people are going to look at this movie and be like, who the hell is Paul Dano? A lot of the audience members are not going to know who Paul Dano is, but if you've seen anything he's been in,
they will know after this movie.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah, they will. And if you, go ahead.
I was going to say, because just to kind of bounce off you guys, like Paul Dano, he was honestly he's the best Riddler I've seen. The way that he came about for this role, phenomenal. The dark side, the twisted, sadistic side of him was very cool. The way the whole that woman that he had caged up with the rats was really cool.
Mhm.
Very, very, like I said, very Saw-like, very dark and twisted.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed that. I mean, I don't like the Saw movies at all, but it just kind of reminded me of that, and I liked it to the point where like it creeped me out.
Yeah.
Like I liked that. I liked how they really had Paul Dano play this like very twisted, sadistic Riddler, and I
Right.
really enjoyed the Riddler that they used in this movie. I really enjoyed Paul Dano's performance, and he absolutely killed it.
Well, the difference between, you know, like this and Saw is going for the horror. This is
Right.
a, you know, mystery thriller with horror flair to it. You know,
Right.
that's the difference. And I agree with you. I think that the way doing it this way is much more effective. You know, I think
Oh yeah,
that this is the
100%.
way you do it,
Yeah.
is to, you know, I wish like more movies that classified themselves as horror weren't that. You know what I mean? Because like there's Saw, the first Saw is really good, but like the rest of them, you know, take it or leave it, you know, because it's like then it becomes less about what that first Saw was about, which is the first Saw actually approaches it as like this detective story too, with the little horror flair, and then the rest of them just kind of stepped away from that, just kind of made it more about the torture and all that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I think that horror movies themselves should take this approach. I think that this really works.
'Cause I think horror movies would do better if they took more of this, like you said, this detective, like sadistic, dark side. Um, less killing and torture, more like sadistic, dark, like detective type, like mystery solving or whatever. Like take that kind of side. I think they'd do a lot better because this movie did that and 100% killed it. Like
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Paul Dano too, I mean, well, There Will Be Blood is a movie you gotta watch, but if you want a movie that's kind of similar to this, in some ways, in some regard, it's kind of this mystery thriller, I would watch Denis Villeneuve's Prisoners. Paul Dano's fantastic in that movie, and you would just see that this guy's been grinding a long time. It's no surprise to me that he did this well, but I still was just so, every time he was on the screen, I felt frightened, you know, just a little
Oh,
bit.
100%.
Like, and
Same.
yeah, that's effective.
Genuinely on edge.
Yeah. What's that?
Sorry, there was a bug over here, so I was trying
Oh,
to hit
okay.
this while my hands
All
went,
right,
but yeah, he was genuinely had me on edge the whole time, really scary. And one of the things I really appreciated about the writing of it and the way that the movie was filmed was coming to the end of the film, I had this weird feeling almost as if like we were done seeing the Riddler because of the fashion and the motive behind him taking out the politicians and whatnot. I forget that he's a crazy person and he has this crazy scheme that he unravels at the end of basically taking out all of Gotham in one move, because for a minute throughout the movie you keep seeing him just target one person and these people are corrupt,
Right.
and then he just goes after the whole city, which I totally forgot, like, oh yeah, he's a crazy person, and he thinks that this is good and right and just. And he's not a great guy, because, you know, throughout the movie you somewhat sympathize with the fact that they're like, yeah, these are really bad politicians that are crazy corrupt that he's going after.
Yeah, for sure. I agree, man. I agree. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I agree, man. I think that yeah, it's insane, like the amounts of the level of fear this movie was able to instill in its audience members, you know, at all times when he was on the screen. And it's like it's something that I rarely experience in even movies that are trying to do that. I guess was my original point, you know, and so like this movie, like it kind of did it without trying. It felt very effortless. It's just like an accent to everything else that's going on in the movie, this sort of freaky sort of vibe that's going on. And like when they found him in the diner and he's like turning in the chair, and like that was wild, man. I mean,
you talking about with the cops and all that.
Yeah,
when they
yeah, because now we're seeing him unmasked.
And then you have the coffee with the question mark on it. That was that was really cool. That was sick. I was gonna say that there was this other scene too that like had me like kind of almost in tears too. Was that scene where Robert Pattinson was driving in the Batmobile to Alfred, calling him on the phone, and like Alfred's like to the Batman's eyes only, and he like turns around, he sees that it's a bomb, he tries to like throw it away, and it, you know, blows up, and then he like this woman answers and said, "Oh, it happened an hour ago," and you like think that Alfred's dead. And like the whole time it's like, oh my gosh, is Alfred actually dead? Did he die? And like that part almost had me like in tears, like the fact that the lady told Robert Pattinson like, oh, it happened an hour ago, and like, you could tell like in his eyes the emotion that he's feeling is like, oh my gosh, Alfred's dead. Like that whole time too, it had me like almost in tears. It was some great stuff. Like the emotions that Robert Pattinson portrayed as the Batman, even though it was not many, there were scenes where he did, and when he did, it was phenomenal.
Well, he did this. There was something he did too. I mean, there were a couple times where I didn't tear up necessarily, but I felt my eyes start to well up a little bit, where he would just be like, you would just like watch him like do something, and you felt for him. You know, he is clearly so damaged, Robert Pattinson, in this movie, and he just portrays it well without saying anything. And I think that those moments, that's a testament to him as an actor in this movie. He does a lot without saying much. You just look at him and you know what he's thinking.
Honestly, a lot of people who weren't fans of him because of Twilight, I think will now become fans of him after this movie, because
I would hope so.
He outperformed himself in this movie. He did what a lot of people were not expecting him to do in this movie.
But I think that there's a side to this that we need to look at too, where there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to like this movie.
That is true.
Because they're going to expect one thing and they're not going to get that. I would think
that is true. I mean that comes with almost every big movie that is set to release. I mean, people are going to expect one thing and they're not going to get it, and then they're disappointed.
Am I back? Sorry, I don't know about as much as
you're back now.
This one, because this movie, I found myself continuously surprised that there wasn't, like, there's moments where it kind of zigs where you think it's going to zag. Like, you're like, oh, here comes the big action sequence. Oh, they're not doing it. Oh, wow, I love this.
Yeah.
You know, but to other people, it's going to be like, no action there? Oh, no, you know? Like, I brought my child to this to watch a Batman movie. You know what I mean? That's going to be the experience of a lot of people. It's something to keep in mind. I mean, you know, it's just
fair. Yeah.
This could divide audiences. We'll see. You know, I don't know, but like, because I know I walked out of the theater last night and there was a mom with their 2 kids complaining to the theater manager. It was too long.
You did tell me about that.
Saying it was too long. My kids didn't like it. You know,
complaining to the theater manager.
Yeah, I swear to God, this is 100%, 100%.
Why would you even do that? Like.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's my point.
As if he's the one that put it there. I was just like,
exactly. They didn't make the movie, but you know, like, but that's my point. You know, like, is that that could be the experience of a lot of people here. You know, and
my only problem is that is that I feel like people are getting like lazier when it comes to movies. Like they expect like hour to hour and a half long movies.
I agree, and it's a part of a bigger discussion for sure, because
exactly that's what I mean. Like,
yeah.
Like me as a person who's studying film right now, I appreciated the fact that a movie like this was at the runtime that it was.
Yeah.
Because you could not have fit, like, if you would have made it any shorter, I don't think it would have been as good as it actually came out to be.
Yeah.
Which I just feel like people these days, like I've said, you know, they've become lazier when it comes to movies. They want shorter run times. Yeah. They don't appreciate these longer runtime movies.
Or movies that, you know, are a little less action heavy and want to make you think and challenge you as an audience.
Yeah, and that comes again to the laziness part, where people don't want to like think when it comes to movies. They just want to have everything given to them in the movie, and they don't want to actually have to, like, that's why, guys, we're here for you guys, because we love these, you know, movies that are more like make you think more, and that, you know, we're here talking about it.
Absolutely.
And so I just give me more of these kinds of movies, honestly.
I agree.
Like, at this point I'm done with the especially with superhero kinds of movies. I'm done with the action, really. I mean, still give me action, just give me more mystery, suspense type drama thinking movies, because those are the kinds of movies that I like to break down and talk about, because they make you think more. Part
of my reaction walking out of it was, a big studio let this happen in 2022. I can't believe it. You know, like, this Batman movie happened. Like, this got pitched to them and they said, yeah, go ahead. I love that. And
I mean, look, ultimately it paid off, because when you look at it, really. Well,
ultimately, this, you wouldn't think this would happen now, you know? I mean, maybe in the 70s you saw one of these every week, you know, but like now. Right. It just doesn't happen. So it's so baffling when you see one of these, and it's just so cool, man.
And I was saying, honestly, the fact that it's paid off so far already, I mean, it's phenomenal to see that a movie like this is doing, you know, what it's doing so far.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't collapse on itself, you know, because of the division. But I think the good thing about that is this is also not made for the general audience that would go see something like this. So I think that there is an audience for it too.
True.
You know, that's like outside of the norm, you know, like there's a lot of like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of comic book movie fans that are going to love this. They're going to see that it's the purest form of the Batman character. They're going to enjoy that, appreciate that. But then there is a pocket of the audience that just wants to go to watch fights and explosions. They're not going to like this movie. I'm telling you right now. That pocket of the audience is not going to like this movie.
And those are the people I don't want to be friends with.
But there's this other pocket of the audience that enjoys the comic book movie or the fights, the explosions, but also likes this type of suspense mystery thriller. And I think that's the pocket it's mainly going for. And I hope that kind of navigates.
Yeah, it's the ones that pocket that like action, but also like the suspense drama thriller side, like the mixed combo, like this movie has brought.
Yeah.
Which I enjoy those kinds of movies. Those are very I feel like those are the most entertaining and the ones that really have you thinking more. And that's the part. That's what I really like about movies is the ones that make me think, but that also have some kind of action to it as well at the same time.
Yeah,
which is why I really, really enjoyed this movie.
Right. Yeah, I agree, man. I'm 100% agreement with you, which reason my next point. You got this other pocket, this other circle, which is like us film enthusiasts who just want to see well-made shit, and this is like what this is. It's super well made.
That's one of the things I look at with this is out of superhero movies, I would not recommend most of them to my father. This is one that I would be happy to be like, Dad, go watch this freaking movie.
Honestly,
you're gonna love it. Which is what I'm liking, is because no offense to a lot of these superhero movies, but a lot of these again are catered towards kids and then make it enjoyable for adults.
Right.
Whereas this is like a very adult superhero movie. Batman movie. I cannot wait to tell my dad and get on the phone with him and be like, Dad, you go watch this movie, even though it's 3 hours and you'll probably fall asleep and have to change your diaper halfway through. Yeah. He's going to kill me when he sees this, but you're going to absolutely love this movie. Go see it immediately.
Well, yeah. I mean, I saw 3 families walk out with their kids the second they saw Paul Dano taping somebody up. It was just like, okay.
They walked out of the movie?
Yeah. It's like,
They were expecting Iron Man or Spider-Man, man. They
they
weren't ready for Batman.
Wrong universe.
They saw Batman.
I know, they probably don't know, though.
They saw Batman PG-13 and said, cool. You know what I mean? They were like, yeah.
They probably think Batman and all them are in the same universe as like Iron Man and them.
Yeah. I was baffled by the amount of kids that were there. This is not a movie for children.
And thing is, I can, going
Unless
back to
you're awesome.
you said us film enthusiasts. Like when I was watching this movie, I was studying it like if I was in school. The cinematography in this movie,
it's unbelievable.
The angles and shots that they use in this movie,
unbelievable.
Oh my god, the editing, everything to this movie was like the wide shots were used perfectly. The like I said, the upside down shot was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Used perfectly.
Yeah.
The close-ups and extreme close-ups in this movie.
Yeah.
Used to this to a T.
Yeah.
I enjoyed everything that of this movie. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, and listen,
cinematography.
I mean, listen, and like I was talking about the different pockets of people that this is made for. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I felt like it was made for me, and that was
I feel like us three here feel the same. Like it was made for us three, like
right
for sure.
Yeah.
Which funny enough, I've already had a few friends that have gone and seen this, and of the few friends that have gone, they're all DC fans. And one of the like weird little complaints that was actually one of my like favorite parts of the movies that wasn't, brought up a lot, but was in there was there's actually a good amount of comedic relief that I thought was hilarious in this.
Yeah.
Very dark humor, but hilarious. One of which is, of course, the thumb drive.
Oh my gosh.
Super dark, but like that
I thought it was
good
funny.
delivery.
I laughed.
It wasn't cheesy. I thought it was a great joke.
I laughed. Yeah.
And the other one, which I absolutely loved, was the one cop at the beginning that's a total asshole to Batman and won't let him into the crime scene. Later on, sees him at the funeral and was like, "Hey, Bruce Wayne, I love this guy." And it's like, same dude, asshole. Whenever he's a Batman, he's a jerk to him, and whenever he's Bruce Wayne, he's like, "Oh, I'm a huge fan. Hey, good to see you." And it's like,
right,
this guy.
Well, I wanted to talk to Jose about this part of it because you've been watching Sopranos, and like now that we've seen Colin Farrell's Penguin, like I could see a Penguin series.
I can
being
see.
great.
I was gonna say I can see a Sopranos type series done with Colin Farrell's Penguin 100%. Like, oh my!
Set in Gotham, give it to me now. Like
I can't. I can get give it to me now because I will watch the hell out of that thing. I'm actually so excited. Can't wait to see what they do with Colin Farrell's Penguin in this spin-off series because it's going to be some great stuff.
He was unbelievable in this movie. And like
100%. Everyone. The thing is, everyone was unbelievable in this movie.
True.
Everyone came and outperformed themselves.
Yeah, it's true.
Honestly, like the chemistry that they all brought together, whether they were together or not, like the chemistry that they all brought was
Yeah.
phenomenal.
With a
Great
lot of
stuff.
like audience members that like go to see these movies with like explosions, fights, and that's like all they want, and they're good. What they don't understand is a script like this is the type of script that gets an actor excited. You know, like this
Oh
is
yeah,
the type of
100%.
thing an actor
Yeah.
wants to do.
I was gonna say, because
Um,
because I mean, actors want something that'll push them out of their band, whether it's out of their boundaries or not. They want something that'll push them.
Yeah.
And these days we get too many action filled explosion movies that when they see something that's different,
Yeah.
they're like, okay, yeah, I want that role because that'll push me to do something different, something that I've probably not done before.
Yeah.
And so that's why you have the casting that this movie has. That's the reason why it has this big of a casting, is
Yeah.
because of the difference that the script brought.
Yeah.
And
I
they
agree.
were like, okay, yeah, I want to be in this movie because this will push me to do something different, something that I've probably never done before.
Yeah.
Which is what I really enjoyed about the movie, and I can really appreciate about it as well.
Yeah, you know, something I appreciated too was just the eyeliner in general. Like, I go back to the moment in Batman Returns where Michael Keaton has the eyeliner on, and like, you ever notice this in Batman Returns? Like, there's a scene where Michael Keaton, he has the eyeliner under the mask, and then when he goes to, they cut to Catwoman, then they cut back to him, and when he goes to take the mask off, there's no eyeliner there. Like, you see it like that they took it away just because they thought it would have looked weird once he took the mask off. And so I was appreciative of that. You know, the other thing I want to talk about too is Giacchino's score. Like, I thought Michael Giacchino's score was unbelievable.
Oh my
Like,
goodness, yes. Great. Phenomenal.
I think it's his magnum opus. Like, it's his masterpiece, you know, like, honestly,
100%.
like, yeah, like, I loved No Way Home. I loved what he did there, but with the score. But like here, it was like, oh yeah, he just like.
I remember you, Dom. You and I listened to the score for the Batman before the movie, and you're gone again. You're back. Yeah. I remember we listened to the score before the movie came out. We were like head over heels about it. Like he absolutely killed this score for the movie. It was some great stuff. Honestly, the song, the music that was used in every single scene specifically was curated perfectly.
I agree.
enjoyed it so much. It was great. It was some great stuff.
Dave, you were starting to say something there. Sorry, I think we cut you off.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that the score was perfect for this. I mean, every single scene was just perfect, fit in well, put me way more on edge throughout the movie.
Oh, he's gone. Oh, you're back.
Oh, I am back. I have reappeared. Yeah, just the score was excellent, made the movie just that much better. Every single scene fit in perfect. There wasn't one out of line, and kept you on the edge of your seat, especially you know, club music aside, of course, because that was kind of annoying to me actually. But the actual scores of the movie were excellent, especially including the Penguin. And going back to the Penguin before I forget, one small point I wanted to make was I do like the Penguin's like kind of final scene in the movie where he stands up to Falcone. I thought that was pretty excellent.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like even though he's got like 9 minutes of screen time, every time he has the opportunity, as a crime boss would, to kind of take a step up, he capitalizes on the moment, and when he needs to survive, he survives.
Yeah.
But yeah, the score is excellent. Definitely a masterpiece.
Very
greatest aspect of the movie, I'd say, that made everything really blend together and help the suspense of all the scenes.
You know, I love this take on the Penguin where he's very likable, actually. Like he's a criminal by all means, but you actually like the Penguin in this movie.
Cheering for him half the time.
Yeah, you really are, because of the Falcone thing, and that's why I think a series could be so interesting. Because he would just be the perfect like leading anti-hero, you know, in a way. Like he's a criminal, he's a piece of shit, but there's a lot to root for within that performance, I think. So I'm all for it, man. Sign me up now. Like, give me 100%. That series,
give me it now, because I need that shit.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Yeah, I can't wait, dude. Anyway, so you know, I was trying to think, but the moment I wanted to go back to the hospital scene, because that stuff was great when
my gosh,
Alfred gives a speech to Bruce, and Bruce to me that was a real turning point in the movie, where I realized that they can, you know, be this really dark movie but also have all this heart to it as well. You know, because like Alfred gives that speech, and then, you know, he says he was sorry, and then Bruce says like, don't be sorry, you know, and which goes against everything that Bruce was saying before. But once he heard Alfred's side of everything, you know, it was like, oh, Alfred was my father, you know, like it made me like tear up almost, you know. It was just like that was kind of
Alfred
the
was my
idea.
true father. Yeah.
Right, that was the idea.
That right there is what really sold me with Andy Serkis as Alfred, was that whole hospital scene with him and Robert Pattinson. Like that exchange that they had, the chemistry that they had, the two of them together in that scene, was some great stuff. The speech that Andy Serkis gave was some phenomenal stuff, honestly.
Yeah,
And the emotions that Robert Pattinson was portraying throughout the entire scene was great.
yeah.
It was mixed emotions, but it was great.
You know what?
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Sorry, yeah, all I was gonna say was especially when he's talking to Alfred, in that scene, I love the reaction of Robert Pattinson in this moment, because his whole world just really unraveled on him, and you just see it, and everything from his talk with Falcone to finally catching up with Alfred and realizing, you know, the two sides of the truth. You just see everything unravel, but he takes it with grace, and he does what he can with it, and he knows that he can't fix the situation.
Yeah.
And it's already done it in the past, and that's why, like he says, don't be sorry to Alfred. He's like, it's in the past, and he kind of remembers everything that he's done for him, and that's why, like I said, I was really on edge when you know, Alfred was attacked by the Riddler, and it said to the Batman. I was really worried, and I love what they did with the sequence where I thought he was actually going to make it at first, when I don't know who she is, but you know, the secretist, let's say, picks up the phone. I was like, oh, okay, he's probably okay. And then it goes, you're too late. That happened like an hour ago. And I was like, oh my God, is Alfred dead already?
Yeah. I mean, I agree, man. I agree. Like, because it wouldn't have surprised me in this film. That's the thing. Like, I mean, it would have surprised me, but it wouldn't have, like, this is the movie you would do that in. You know what I mean? Because it's the tone of the thing, and it tries to do something new every moment.
It fits the tone of the movie, and again, this movie hit me in ways where I never thought it would, and took risks. So the whole movie, I was pretty much on edge of like, dude, I don't know where this movie is going. They could kill Batman, they could kill Catwoman, they could anyone is like fair game to die at any point, which is something, you know, again, you don't see with superhero movies too much anymore. Is like, you know, you have a pretty good layer of protection on like, okay, this person might die, or you know, they're probably going to come back. And in this movie, it's like, man, this movie has balls, man. Anyone could go at any point, and they would do it.
Yeah,
they would do it. So when Alfred, I thought he was a goner at that point, man. I was like, oh man, game over for Alfred. So it was good to see him okay and in the bed.
Yeah. You know, I love Catwoman in this movie because she rides that fence a lot like the Penguin does. She's definitely, you know, like a criminal, but there's a lot more about this Catwoman, in my opinion, that's relatable, you know, compared to Catwomen in the past. You know, I think that something that Zoe Kravitz
Halle Berry, right?
Performance. Well, you had Halle Berry, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Hathaway. I mean, you know, we've seen tons do the role. It's just, I think that there's something in the nuances of the performance from Zoe Kravitz that made her a lot more relatable. Like, you felt for her when we needed to. You know, there was the chemistry between her and Robert Pattinson that was just, it was on fire, dude. Like, that chemistry 100%. Is there.
100%.
I did not mind it at all. And going into the movie, I was thinking they better not make a thing between those two, but they did, and it worked. You know, like
100%.
It works.
I was actually rooting for them to have a thing throughout the movie. And then when I finally saw it, I was like, yeah, there you go. That's what I was looking for, because at first you would think that nothing would happen, but at the same time you were kind of rooting for it. And then when you see it happen, it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I really enjoyed the chemistry that Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz had in this movie was one of the greatest stuffs in this movie.
You know, they've toyed with that in the movies in the past where Catwoman and Batman would have a thing, but I think the reason that it's always kind of felt a little bit off kilter is because, like, Bruce Wayne is already this playboy millionaire who can get anybody he wants.
But in this Bruce one, as I say, this Batman was not more. Yeah,
he's much more broken and secluded, and it worked better for that reason.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And yeah.
What were you saying?
It worked.
I do appreciate too when Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman is shit talking Bruce Wayne to his face and doesn't realize it when she's talking about all these rich assholes. And it's funny because that's one of the scenes where you get a good connection between, you know, their romantic interests with one another. And then she just kind of takes a turn to like, you know, what would Bruce Wayne know about like how me and you had it? He's like, that's me. So that I do like that they were kind of building up, and then you got that buzzkill to kind of bring it down, and he's like, well, what if she knew? What if she knew that I was Bruce Wayne? That's me. And yeah, I do got to say I like the romantic interest. I do like that they parted ways at the end of it. I did not see them getting married at the end of this. So
of course not.
I like the way that their romantic interest played out throughout the movie. You get a genuine care for one another, which obviously, like Zoe Kravitz said early on, like, you don't give a shit about me, but you build that interest and care. And by the end of it, he cares about what happens to Catwoman more than anything else in this film, and makes huge risks in the unfolding of the last sequence there to risk his life to make sure that she's okay, because he genuinely cares.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the ending, because that's something that, like, I really love about this ending is it's an ending that's begging for a sequel without asking for it. Like
100%.
Something about, like, it's not setting up anything necessarily, but it organically just needs a sequel. Like,
I was just saying, it's a cliffhanger, but at the same time, it's not.
Yeah,
like it's not a cliffhanger, but at the same time, it in your mind, it is a cliffhanger because it wants you wanting a sequel. It wants you wanting more from everyone that was in this movie. And more too. Obviously new characters from the comics of Batman. His villains and stuff like that. For example, the Joker. It has you wanting more. I mean, the end credit scene. I liked how they ended this movie. I really liked that. Like, it kind of gave me like Fast and Furious vibes. When Paul Walker and Vin Diesel kind of separated in that scene, it kind of gave me that kind of vibe, but like darker and more, obviously like DC Batman kind of vibes. But it gave me like that kind of Paul Walker Vin Diesel vibe of like them, going separate ways. It kind of gave me like that kind of vibe, but different in a way as well, which is what I really enjoyed from that scene.
Right, I agree, and it's like I said, I mean, this movie, it's a great first movie if this is really going to be a trilogy, like we hear. This is a great first movie in the trilogy.
100%. Oh my gosh, they couldn't have done it any better
organically.
Oh yeah, 100%. This entire, I didn't find myself bored any part of this movie. It was well paced. I didn't check my phone once. It was phenomenal. I enjoyed myself throughout this entire movie. I enjoyed every single part of it, every moment of it.
And
I want more now. I honestly just want more.
I just don't want, what I don't want is Batman versus Joker in the second movie. It just seems to be
I feel like it'll be better.
No, that doesn't happen too many times or anything.
I think it'll be better for the third movie, the trilogy, the finale. The finals of the three.
I agree.
That's what I was actually gonna say earlier, which is what is disappointing to me. I understand it's not what they're going for, but one of the things that is disappointing is that between this one and the Batman and the Joker, first of all, they both start with "the." So I mean, come on, we're not going to make that happen. But also, in terms of Joaquin's the Joker and then this the Batman, the one thing that is disappointing for me, I understand they're not going that way, but is that both movies are very real, down to earth.
I agree.
And again, like I said, it's one of the things I love about Robert Pattinson is that he's not so OP, and so I feel like they would have made a great match to go head to head. Later on, in the world building is very similar, especially in Gotham, as to how dark it is. So I just see so many comparisons, and they match up so well together that it is kind of disappointing. But I'm excited to see the other villains of the universe finally explored and their take on it, because like I said, all the villains that we see in this are great. The Riddler, the Penguin, everyone you see in this is great. It all fits together, fits in the universe, and I'm excited what their take is on all the other villains he's going to be running into.
I understand it, and it'd be disingenuous of me to say I was kind of hoping that it was going to be Joaquin's if they did show him. But
see, the thing is, I did want it to be.
No, I did. That's why am
I disappointed that it's not going to be? Kinda, not really. But I was looking forward. I did want to see Robert Pattinson and Joaquin Phoenix in a movie together. I think that could be some phenomenal stuff.
And
honestly.
I get that. And but my only thing is with that, this is the way I look at it, I guess, to try to, have some optimism for it, because well, like Dave was saying, number one, they've already instilled confidence in us. They're going to handle these villains well. Like, they're going to handle these characters extremely well. Like, Matt Reeves knows what he's doing. He's instilled that confidence, so we have that. So that's great. So it really doesn't matter what he wants to do. Secondly, if Todd Phillips wanted his Joker movie to be a one-off, I wouldn't want to force anything. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want to
Yeah.
force anything out of somebody who doesn't have that idea, who doesn't have the creative juice to do anything. Or same with Joaquin. If Joaquin only wanted to do the one movie and thinks that's where it needs to end for him, then so be it, because he would know. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
wouldn't want to
true.
force any
Yeah.
creative juices out of him
That's
either
true. Yeah,
that
true.
he doesn't have in him. You know, I wouldn't want him to just do a movie for a
Yeah,
paycheck. He's not that
that's-
type of actor, you know?
That's one of the things I'm really praying for with these movies that we talked the other day, much like the TV shows, kind of like when we were talking about Stranger Things, is it's better to let these things retire when they're supposed to than die, because as we see, whenever you just let something keep going on or force anything, it doesn't
Dragging
end
it
well
out.
for it. So
Yeah.
I would, again, I'm disappointed kind of that we're not going to get Joaquin, but I
Right.
would rather we got the
Or-
Joker stay as is, a standalone, and we get new characters here,
Yeah.
and the Batman is perfect as is, and we just keep going down the route of making good movies
Right.
instead of striving for something that's going to be forced and not come out as well here.
Right. That's
No.
well, that's what I was saying. It's like, I was going to say this, jumping off your point, like, you can either let it die, or this movie is proof of, alternatively, you could just make a really fresh take and like make it,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
You could,
don't do it till you have something fresh like this, you know? That's
Like,
what
just-
I say.
just like how this Robert Pattinson Batman is gonna have its own Joker. I mean, you could do the same thing with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. You can have a different kind of Batman. It's almost like Spider-Man's, like, you know, the MCU Spider-Man versus the Sony Spider-Man. You're gonna have two different Venoms. You
Yeah.
can do something like that. You know, you can have a different Joker in Robert Pattinson's Batman and a different Batman in Joaquin's Joker.
You could. And
which-
yeah.
Exactly.
And one of the
Um,
things I want to say off that, though, really quick, too, is the fact that, you know, this movie, while we don't have a multiverse of multiple Batmans coming in there, that's going to be safe for the Flash, I still really do feel like in some ways this is a celebration of all the Batman to come before. And in some ways, I still felt that way when I was watching it. And I think that Matt Reeves kind of looked at those films in the past and said, you know what, I'm going to take small inspiration from that here and there, but I'm going to make the definitive Batman movie out of it, you know? And I feel like that's
and
what he did.
He
Yeah.
did that. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like this movie is called The Batman, as egotistical as it sounds. I mean, he had every right after seeing
And
this movie.
while we're patting DC on the back, because I know literally just on the last movie mornings, I was letting you guys know that DC is winning over my heart.
Yeah,
DC, just know you've won. That's it. Like Marvel, like I said, they're hitting 50-50 right now. I hope they fix it up. But now DC, I mean, we still have, you know, the Justice League and Peacemaker timeline universe going on here. And now we have this brand new one that is so refreshing. And I love both so much right now.
and Joaquin's
can't
Joker
even believe-
potentially,
Joaquin's
and their,
Joker, exactly.
And Joaquin's
and their
Joker,
CW
so-
universe. I mean, they're just handing
They're
out
on
universes
fire.
like daily here. I mean,
You know, I was
Yeah.
you know, I like my previous self would have disagreed, but honestly, nowadays, I would have
Yeah.
to agree. Like, DC is absolutely killing it when it comes, like, compared to Marvel with movies. I mean, like you said, Marvel's
Doing
really
really
50-50, but right now, DC with movies, they are absolutely killing it. Like,
yeah,
and now you know what? Now I prefer DC movies and DC shows to Marvel movies and shows.
I know.
honestly.
I'm there, and I always knew it could come to this point. Being a fan
I never
of the
th-
comics
honestly,
and
I kn-
stuff, you know, I knew that
I
they
never-
had it in them.
As you know, as someone
Yeah.
who's never read the comics for DC or
Yeah.
Marvel and has only seen the shows and movies, I never thought that I would
Yeah.
prefer DC movies and shows to Marvel movies and shows. But at this point, it's they're just doing it better, honestly. And
Yeah.
I honestly I think that that's because, you know, DC isn't really doing this whole multiverse thing where Marvel is now starting to do that. So it's a little harder and a more like riskier to do. So that's where I think that, you know, Marvel's just trying to take these risks with this whole multiverse stuff, so it's a little bit harder
Yeah.
to kind of nail right. So that's where DC is kind of doing it better, is that they're not, you know,
Yeah.
they don't have this whole multiverse stuff
Yeah.
going on right now.
Anakin, I knew it would come to this. DC is taking over. Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I love it. And, you know, as a fan, as somebody who knew the source material, knew the potential there, like I'd love to hear this from both of you, because I just knew it could get to that level. I always just knew they had
Yeah.
that. They just never took advantage of it in the past, like to the
And-
point that they could have.
I was gonna say they're
And-
just now taking advantage of that, honestly.
Right, right,
Which is great to see, because they are absolutely killing it right now.
right.
They're doing it right.
Yeah.
They're doing it right. Yeah.
Good.
This Batman is just finally hitting on all cylinders of what
Mhm.
what I always wanted Batman to be, that I've had bigger issues with in the past, which is that they're just too cheesy, and Batman, as you know, in the
Too
comics
OP.
especially, is so real. It's especially when compared to Marvel, it's so real. It's a lot more serious tone, and that's finally what this movie gave me. That has won over my heart. Is they finally gave me a dark movie. And again, going back to that intro, I love it when you see these villains, or these henchmen, these
they're more like
criminals committing crimes,
yeah.
Graffitiing, beating people up, jumping them, and you see the bat logo up, and you see the genuine fear
in their
and not only that, but it just exposes their emotions and how they can't control how scared they are of this man that's in the shadows. And again, it's more real to the point of in the monologue, he even says it. Listen, I'm just one man. I can't change everything myself. I don't even know if I'm having an effect here.
I can't be in two places. I can't be in many places at once, is what he says, which is what I really, really, really liked in that monologue that he did, was that, I can't be in all different places at once. And like you said, again, the fear that you could see in the emotion in their eyes, these criminals, when they see the bat logo, was phenomenal. Dude, it was amazing.
He can't be everywhere, but it just perfectly illustrates the fact that he can't be everywhere, but just the fact that he could be in that dark alleyway that they're about to walk down is enough to just make them say, man, screw this. I've seen what this guy does. That's what I mean. And that's the change that he's making, whether his character realizes it or not in that moment.
That's what I was gonna hit on that point, is that the fact that, when they see that bat logo and they see a shadow, it's like, oh, he could be there, he could not. But just the fact that there's a possibility that he could be there just instills that fear in them is great. And the fact that he doesn't realize that he could be there, and that he's, installing fear in these guys' eyes, is just some phenomenal stuff. And I just can't praise this movie enough for what they did. Honestly, it's great.
What I love about this is I was, talking to Dave last movie mornings. He was asking me the question about, my opinions on, the past DC movies and Batman and all that. And I remember telling you, like, while I've liked a lot of the Batman movies, I've liked at least everything from Batman Begins and so on and so forth. I was telling you, I was like, I still don't think they've hit peak Batman though. And like, now you see what I mean. You know what I mean?
Now they've hit,
now we're there. Yeah. Even though I know you love, Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, and we'll never get a villain as great as that. But
I love Clooney ass and Dick. It's great. It's amazing to just get that right in my face in the beginning of a movie. That's the best way to do it. But
but this is it's finally hitting its stride. And you're right. This is, I think, the peak Batman, and that's what makes me so excited. Is this is the first one. I mean, with the Batman Begins trilogy, there you didn't really hit this strong until The Dark Knight, and then Dark Knight Rises, I feel like kind of took a step down. This is such a strong first movie. I mean, like I said, this is my new favorite DC movie. I still got to go back and watch The Dark Knight in its entirety, to be fair. But just from the half that I saw, I was like, man, I think The Batman is better than The Dark Knight, and this is such a strong first movie. It's going to be hard to follow, I think. But like I said, they planted the universe and the world building is just so well built. It's also kind of foolproof that I don't think that they could screw this up.
I agree. I trust in Reeves. We trust, right? I mean, yeah.
Yes.
What were you saying, Jose?
I know. I was gonna say that I still think, and I still hold the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie.
But I need to watch it again. But I'm with you right now.
I need
to watch both again. Yeah.
Once I was gonna say I'll revisit, because the Joker movie's on HBO Max, so I'll revisit that one very soon. Yeah. But I do need to watch this Batman movie again. As of right now, I do prefer the Joker movie to this but they're very close. That's the thing, is that they're very close. Like,
Jose's fired.
The Batman, look, I mean, Dom agrees with me right now, but I mean, we still have to revisit both.
Yeah.
Oh, Dom's fired too.
Look. I
knew it would come to this. David's taking over. Anyway, sorry.
No, but like, Joaquin Phoenix just outdid himself in that movie, and it was a phenomenal movie. I mean, again, like I said, this Batman movie is very close to the Joker movie. Like, they're both phenomenal.
They almost go hand in hand, strangely, even though they're in two different universes.
Exactly.
I feel like they go hand in hand.
Joaquin Phoenix killed it as Joker, and Batman. Like, Joaquin Phoenix is my favorite Joker, and Robert Pattinson is my favorite Batman. So, like, these two movies are phenomenal, and I hold very, very close to me. Like,
it's got to be in the conversation for the best comic book movies of all time. Now it's probably broken the top 5 already. It's wild. But...
I mean, you and I, Dom, we have our list here of top 5 comic book movies of all time.
Let's save that. We'll do that on a show sometime.
I was gonna say, and it probably
re-ranked
has, with Batman. It probably has beat that. It's got the top 5 for sure. Honestly, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's save that, because we're gonna re-rank it now that the Batman's out for sure on a different show.
But for sure, these, like, the Joaquin Phoenix's Joker and Robert Pattinson's Batman have to be my favorite of all time.
I think
these,
that it might be up there. Yeah.
these two have killed. Like, they've brought to us what we have wanted from these characters, and have absolutely outdone themselves. Honestly, they have done what really no one else could have possibly done with these characters.
Yeah, it's I don't want to say it's easy to make a movie, because making a movie is hard, but I just wanted to say, like, it seems as simple as just the idea of just don't be afraid to go dark, don't be afraid to take risks. And
I was gonna say that because Joaquin Phoenix's Joker was very dark, which is what I really enjoyed from that movie. Like, these two movies have been dark, and which is why I really enjoyed both the Joker and the Batman.
I think they're the two darkest comic book movies ever made. Yeah.
Exactly, and that has made them like the two best, honestly.
Oh yeah,
because
and
they have brought those dark elements to them that have made them that good.
Go ahead, Dave.
Honestly.
I love to balance out the darkness in this one. I love that we got the purest James Gordon and Jeffrey Wright.
Yes, let's talk about Jeffrey Wright.
Exactly.
That's the only character we haven't talked about yet that is on tip my tongue and killing me, because this is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Compared to any other Gordon, this is the freaking one. He killed it in this. I mean, his character, one of the biggest ones for me was, when they kind of close in on the Penguin, and Batman and Catwoman are closing in on the Penguin and his men, and they find Catwoman's friend in the back of the trunk.
Yeah.
And Gordon realizes that everything has gone awry, and he just swings into freaking action. Because I mean, he did a lot of risky things career-wise throughout this film to defend Batman, let him into crime scenes and get answers. Because around all of his corrupt coworkers and politicians, he's willing to take the risk to get to the truth. But 100%. When he jumped into that, dude, I mean, that was leaping into the jaws of death to help out Catwoman and Batman, and that's when I said, holy shit.
Oh yeah, and I love, by the way, well, first of all, I'm in a complete agreement. So, I mean, you look at this Jeffrey Wright, Jim Gordon, he pops right out of the comic book to me. Like, this is the purest James Gordon we've ever had. But on the other side of that, I love the moment when you're watching Pattinson walk through the crime scene and all the cops, you feel the hesitation from all the other police officers with Batman being there. It feels uncomfortable.
The judgment of like, why the hell are you letting this happen right now?
Right. Yeah. And Jim Gordon is he has faith in him, which is what Jim Gordon is supposed to be. Which we saw a little bit in Dark Knight, sure, but like it's in that trilogy entirely. But like here, it's really there. Like they really made you. Yeah, they really everything just like they amped everything that was an aspect of any other Batman movie in the past. It just gets amped.
It's 110 up here.
Yeah, it's 110%. They took it up to an 11.
110.
Yeah, it's great, and that's what makes this thing work so well. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's been a lot. It's very rare we walk out of a movie like this and are this enthusiastic. I think about it. Like it's very rare, but it's because we don't.
It's because we don't get movies like these anymore. Like
we don't make them like this. No,
I was gonna say we rarely get movies like this anymore, and that's when movies like this get passed. It's what gets me back into the excitement for movies as a film goer. As someone who's studying film right now, it's these kinds of movies that really just get me back into the rhythm and vibe and like excitement for movies again, because when a movie that really pushes the boundaries and is different comes out, it's what really excites me these days, because it's something that you don't get anymore, and it's rare, it's different, and it turns out to be a movie that really excites me and I really enjoy more than these those typical movies that you get with the whole action and explosions and all those like typical stuff.
Yeah, and you're 100% right on that, and it's crazy. Like, I understand why it's being compared to Seven or a movie like that, because it is that type of movie, but it's not that movie. Again, I go back to that. It's just the fact that that's the type of movie that doesn't get made anymore. That's why it's getting that comparison more than anything. Or I've heard like some of the there is Godfather influence in this movie. There's tons of influences from movies in the 70s or whatever.
I was gonna say there's influences from all different kinds of movies, but again, it's like its own movie
in its own original way.
Exactly.
Executed it.
Exactly.
It's perfect.
Exactly.
And themes even that you don't think will work in this movie. I mean, the extent of the mobster that the Penguin pulls off, and that his underground crime syndicate pulls off, is not something I thought would come through well. Even early on, when I see the Penguin come on screen and I see him come through, I was questioning it. And then as it kept going, it just kept growing. I mean, it's like, man, they are killing this right now. Even with you know, again, the first crime scene we see that the Riddler sets up, the whole Zodiac puzzle thing. I'm like, okay, but this can't carry the whole movie. It does.
Yeah.
And it does it excellently.
It really does. It's always lingering in the background. That's why I love it's like even when the focus is on Colin Farrell or Falcone or the Bruce Alfred situation or Bruce Catwoman situation, the Riddler thing is always lingering in the background. You never forget about it because it is so strong in execution right there in the beginning. You know, we see it right there and it's like, we're not going to forget that. We know that that's a thing that needs to be solved and something, and that's what keeps you moving, right? That's the moving piece here because you are always thinking about that in the back of your mind. Like, we need to get to this Riddler thing. We need to resolve that. And
again, the steps away from the Riddler too was what kept got me so surprised by the end of it, when it's like, you know, you see the Riddler, he's setting these up, but you're not really directly seeing them too much, and they kind of fade away and give you a little bit less and less, and then you get back to the fact of like, oh shit, this guy's crazy and he's had a master plan. When he takes out Falcone, he like wants to be caught and he has more up his sleeve, and then you realize how big of a mastermind he is, and it's like, holy shit, this is not gonna end well.
It just reminds me of those mafia movie shows like The Sopranos and stuff like that. Like that's what excites me even more for this you know, Penguin Colin Farrell HBO Max show that, you know, that they're wanting to release. It excites me even more because of that mafia vibe that it gives me from like The Godfather, Sopranos, stuff like that. Like it's phenomenal stuff. Colin Farrell's Penguin, you know, even with the amount of time that he is given, it's great stuff. And I feel like they might have planned that, like giving him that little bit of screen time because they they planned out to make a show for him in HBO Max, so that's why they gave his character that little bit of time, because they
dipping your toe in the water.
It is,
giving him some good screen time, setting up his character without focusing in on too much on him. And he really grew on me in the little bit of screen time he had. He played a good role in the movie as well.
I really think it's like 9 minutes total of screen time, and yet it's so impactful in those 9 minutes.
Oh yeah,
and
it's so impactful, and it just makes you that more excited for his show now, because they make you dip your toe a little bit in the pool before making you dive in completely with him and his character.
I don't know if like Matt Reeves is going to take on the creative reins of that show, but he better, because I was
gonna say, honestly, I think like just like with James Gunn, how he did the Suicide Squad and then he did the Peacemaker show, it would only make sense that because he did this Batman movie, he would do Colin Farrell's Penguins HBO Max show. I mean, it just makes sense.
I agree. This movie is so phenomenal in every way, shape, or form.
We just can't praise it any more than what we've already said.
There's just so much going on, and I love it. But you know, the thing is like another thing I wanted to bring up is I remember when we were doing the Animax Entertainment podcast. You might remember this, Jose. We were talking about some of the production issues that this movie had. And like the fact that, you know, they had to move from location and had to do the rest of it on a soundstage.
We did talk about that.
The production kept getting shut down because of COVID and all this other things. It's not noticeable at all. Like you can't notice that this is a movie that had that many problems on the production. It's so good. It's so well pieced together. Like it just knew what it needed to be, and it did it. You know.
100%.
Good. Dave.
All I was gonna say was on a kind of slight funny note here that was kind of weird, and I had a question for you guys on this because it was actually one of my favorite things in the movie. I didn't realize till the end, but what maybe it's just my theater, but like there was 2 scenes where the Catwoman's motorcycle headlight hits the screen. I was actually freaking blinded by that, and I don't think I've ever had that sensation in a movie before, and I think it speaks to one of my favorite parts of the movie, which I didn't realize till the end when you kind of see him at I think it was sunrise after the conflict. The whole movie is in the dark. Like the whole movie is, I mean, you got like plenty of lighting. It didn't feel too dark, but you realize like all these scenes happen at night. He is never out in the daytime.
And I mean, maybe like if you want to analyze it to that point, I mean, a lot of that could be done because of how much they had to do on the stage and not on the actual location, but maybe they just added that aesthetic. But it goes into, it's a compliment to Matt Reeves knowing like, okay, if we had to move this production out of location, what can we do with it to still make it look great, make it look, you know, vibrant. And I love that. Go ahead, Jose.
I was gonna say like, the fact that this whole movie was shot in dark kind of complements the fact that this is of a dark movie, and the parts that were light may have been because they were scenes that were a little bit lighter, not as dark as the rest of the movie. And that's kind of just like that creative brilliance that Matt Reeves had, where where the movie was dark because of the fact that this was a very dark movie, and the parts that were light were because they were just lighter and not as dark as the other scenes.
Yeah. And
which really complements the movie.
Well, really, what is a compliment to Matt Reeves, and like because this production did have to move off its location, as a filmmaker, what you really want to do is you want to, just in case something like that would happen, and they had no idea the pandemic was coming, you get your location shots done first, because you get those done as soon as you can, and I'm sure that's how he did it, because you can't really tell for majority of the movie they're not on an actual location, but it's great. It's so great.
That impact that he did too, with like the fact that the whole movie was dark, and then those parts that did have lighter parts were just a little lighter than the rest of the scenes.
Lighter mood.
Exactly, just really
lighter mood, lighter lighting.
Shows how creative he was in filming this movie as well.
Yeah. Oh my god, the wides, like when Batman and Catwoman are in that building, and just like, oh, it looked great in the trailer, but it looks even better here. It's just, when you see it full-fledged in the movie, it's just so good. Catwoman's whole turn there toward the end was really awesome. Like, it wasn't a turn, but it was like, again, riding the fence, and she was riding the fence for the worst. Her just kind of jumping off the building, going for it, and then Bruce kind of going after her. Like, I just thought that was so compelling to watch. Like, it was so good.
It had me going, man. That scene was great.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Like, and you know what I like about that is, to speak to Dave's point on Jeffrey Wright here, is like that when he does confront Catwoman at the end, Jim Gordon goes with him to do so. And typically in these movies, what we get is Batman, he'll answer the call of Jim Gordon, but he also doesn't really like to get Jim Gordon involved in the Bat world. He kind of keeps that separate from his Jim Gordon relationship. But here,
usually
it's all kind of
away and
connected.
says, I got this.
Yeah. Here it's all connected. It's like almost here he knows he needs the help of Jim Gordon to get things done, and that's what I love. It's usually, and that's another thing I love about the Jim Gordon here is, Jim Gordon's he's calling upon Batman to team up with him, not be not do everything,
Which again speaks to the kind of year 2 Batman of like it's also on Batman that like he knows like, man, I am not a veteran at this right now, and I could definitely use help from Gordon here. Right? I mean, you would be lost without him. I mean, just that scene alone, again, where he's enclosing on the Penguin, he would not have seen the light of day if he wasn't there. Yeah. He never would have got to his Batmobile. We wouldn't have had that great chase. If he's not there, he is screwed. Right. So, again, Batman's very competent in this movie, but it's just great to see him team up with Gordon, opposed to just kind of like Christian Bale's trilogy, where he's just like, okay, thanks for that information. I'm gonna go do this myself because I'm a boss ass bitch.
Yeah,
you can sit back, kid.
That's what I enjoyed from this movie too, was the fact that it wasn't the Batmans that we had before, where they kind of just asks the certain question that, okay, cool, I'll just go do this all by myself. He was leaning on people for help, even though he maybe not necessarily wanted it. He would like lean on people to help him to kind of figure all this stuff out.
Yeah.
Which to kind of bounce on that too, the scene where they were interrogating him, and Gordon were interrogating that guy that they had in handcuffs, and he was like making it kind of funny, where he's like, oh, you guys are like this funny dynamic duo, you're like the good
right, yeah, those
the
guys.
batshit cop. That scene was very funny. I really enjoyed that scene too. And when they started communicating with La Rata Alada. That was really cool too. Yeah, that whole scene was really cool. Yeah.
You know what else I loved about this movie is the sense of urgency it constantly had, especially like you get up toward the end there and they finally enter the apartment and they're like seeing everything, and like the Bruce Wayne photos are up there. One of my favorite sequences of all time, because like then you feel like Batman's, you understand what Batman's thinking immediately, and then like when he says it to Jim, it becomes also clear. It's like, yeah, I know exactly what he was thinking when he's like, I think this is all coming to an end, and he's like, what? And he's like, the Batman. And then he's like, I love when he puts his hand on his shoulder. You're a really good cop. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was just amazing. Like, that just gave such a extra element to the relationship between him and Jim Gordon. But also, on top of that, what I love is, the idea of, you know, the fact that that is in the apartment, you know, that's something that's planted now. Is that something that's going to come back into play later? Seeing as how we are going to get sequels, like the fact that those pictures of Bruce Wayne were in there, and you know, does Jim Gordon know it's Bruce Wayne? You know, that's another question, you know, we have to ask ourselves now, is does he know now? He might, you know, he might. So
I kind of I kind of felt like throughout the movie he maybe already knew that Bruce Wayne was Batman.
Maybe I know. I was kind of starting to get that sense too.
The facial expressions that he made whenever he saw Bruce Wayne kind of made me feel like he already knew that Bruce Wayne was Batman in a way. And he obviously just didn't want to tell anyone because he didn't want to, you know, reveal that Bruce Wayne was Batman. But at the same time, he already knew because he just wanted to keep Batman a secret so that he could keep helping him throughout this entire movie.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, DC people are historically pretty stupid. I mean, Superman puts on some glasses and suddenly he's a journalist. But
he's Clark Kent. Yeah, he's a journalist for the he's Clark Kent, the journalist for the Daily Planet. Like,
interesting. Every time Clark is present, Superman's not around. I don't know what.
And every time Superman's present, Clark's
gone. Like, whoa! What the hell? It's interesting.
They get these two to meet each other, man.
It's the same thing with the Flash. You know, Barry Allen's. You know, when the Flash is present, Barry Allen is gone. When Barry Allen is present, the Flash is gone. It's the same. Like DC just
historically they haven't been the smartest.
Exactly.
But no evidence of that yet in this movie. Like, there's no clear evidence of idiocy in this movie. Like, everybody does feel fairly smart. They did a good job.
Yeah.
Dave, you had a point you were trying to make earlier. I'm sorry, but we cut you off again.
Oh, no, you guys are good. You're going ham on it. I love it. One of the things I was going to point out again was in that scene where, you know, Batman says, you know, I think I know his final target is me.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things that really got me about that scene was, again, it speaks to just the risk taken in this, where, like, in that scene, again, I was like, dude, they can take out Batman in this, and like, I think you get a really good sense of urgency of he's confident in the fact that he knows he has to face this and he's going to go after it, but he also has the realization that the Riddler really is smarter than he thinks, and he's like, man, he has pegged me down and come after me before I even knew it was ever coming at me.
Yeah.
And you know, Batman, I think you get this good feeling with the Riddler's first steps of, like, you know, Batman almost feels detached from it and as if he's just trying to help these people, and then it turns to him.
Yeah,
and that was a great turn I love in the movie of the Riddler coming at him, Bruce Wayne and the Batman.
It's when I think it was Bruce Wayne when he realized that La Rata Alada, he realized a rat with wings is really kind of just like a bat. When he realized that it could have been him, that part right there kind of just blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, it took him this long to figure it out that it could have, like, that it was him that he was after this whole time. Kind of just blew my mind. The fact that he was like, oh, okay, the Riddler's been like 20 steps ahead of me this entire time. He's actually a lot smarter than I thought. Like, that whole part right there kind of just, because I figured the whole time that the Riddler was after Batman the entire time, because, you know, rat with wings, I mean that's basically a bat, so I figured that it was going to be Batman the entire. But when he realized in that moment that it was him that he was targeting, bro, oh my gosh, man, it still blew my mind anyways. Like, it was some phenomenal stuff. Honestly,
I agree. I mean, I kind of expected him to go shit, you know, like when he figured it out, because like but you know, that might be one of my gripes of the movie, if anything, is like maybe you could have used Google Translate just a little bit earlier to try to work that out. But you know, honestly, like it was done well. It was done well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it was executed well. I get it. Yeah, I'm joking.
It made it that much more suspenseful. The fact that, you know, this Riddler was using Spanish, which in my head, it kind of makes me think, is the Riddler bilingual? Is this guy from like Spanish descent who also knows English? I mean, he could be, which would be really cool.
He's an orphan.
Yeah,
but an orphan. Yeah, so but that's the thing.
I'm just kidding. They could have picked it up there. Yeah.
I mean, no, he could be an orphan that is from a Latino country that was brought to the U.S. and then his parents kind of just left him at the orphanage. And so he's a Spanish guy who learned English while in the orphanage. Like, I think that could be a really cool idea. Way to go about it.
Right. I did want to go over what could arguably be like the best scene in the whole movie, which is the interrogation scene. Because I'll tell you what, when he was going in there, because you got the call, right? Like, Riddler wants to see you. You know what I mean? And then he goes in there, right? And the first thing I thought, Dave, as much as I was loving the movie up until that point, no way this interrogation scene tops the Dark Knight one. And god damn it, did it. Maybe not by a mile, but god damn it, did it top the Dark Knight interrogation scene. Like, that was amazing. That was so amazing. Like, that scene. And just the things that he was saying and the constant feeling I had where I was like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? What is he up to? You know, and
the Riddler really throws you off again too, where he comes in and he's talking to Batman with such great confidence at first, and then when he starts really going crazy, I was on edge again and be like, oh shit, dude. I felt like I was in the room with Batman. I was like, yo, let me out, open the door. I don't want to be in here anymore. I was like, this guy's losing it. And yeah, I mean, that was such a great interrogation room scene. And also the realization on Batman's part of just, how much bigger this was, which again was one of my favorite things about the movie that I think it's happened in movies before, but I like the way it was carried out in terms of the Riddler being able to pull off this final sequence without him being there. A lot of times in movies, it's almost to a ridiculous point where it doesn't really make sense. It's like, there's no way this guy did all this. The Riddler really pulled off this one well, where it really makes sense of him, recruiting in these other, fanatics of his and getting him there, just planting a few vans the night before at the seawall. And that's one of the things that I really loved because, again, it wasn't a stretch and it was a really freaking good plan that was like, holy shit, step by step. You just keep freaking out as I think it was almost like 10 minutes. You just keep getting these developments of like, oh God, the seawall is coming down. Oh my God, he had like 500 freaking followers that are crazier than him probably, and now they're there. Well, and now he's not even sitting there fighting Batman, but he is because he's the one that set this all up. And that was the greatest battle there at the end.
Well, the movie does such a good job throughout it, like not dating itself, but it does kind of date itself a little bit, and they must be very happy together. No, I'm kidding. But it dates itself a little bit when it starts to use like modern technology, a little bit there, where you see like he's setting up like these live streams or whatever and starting to gain followers, and it starts to make a statement on that a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
It kind of makes it relate to It kind of makes it relate more to like nowadays as well. It's like I hit myself on the piano. It's almost like relatable to the fact where like, social media is very prevalent these days. So like and I mean, it's used also in DC shows. Like for example, The Flash, the whole social media live streaming with villains is used a lot in the Flash though, in the CW. So to use it in this movie as well, I really thought was really very well used. The fact of the Riddler live streaming, a lot of what all the tortures and stuff that he was doing, I thought was really, really well used, and I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I agree. And what I love too is the fact that in this movie as well, like just going into that like detective side of Batman and the investigative side, the cops in this movie, it was actually really, I'm not trying to make a political thing out of this, I'm just saying it was really refreshing to feel the hard work of the police in this movie, as well. Like, because a lot of movies make the police like buffoons, like a lot of comic movies do.
But this one,
dude, get the hell out of my way. You guys are trash.
exactly. A lot of them do.
This was very like almost Criminal Minds, where the cops were actually very smart and knew like what they were doing. They're very detective, very smart, and like Forensic Files, like Criminal Minds type. Like,
that's actually one of my favorite Gordon scenes too. Is when he has the cops on his side, and he goes, "Looks like you can't buy everybody, man." And I was like, damn, Gordon, fuck up, Falcone. Great job, man. That was I think that was one of my favorite scenes of the movie where I was like actually almost getting up like, yeah, man, that's what I thought. Good job, Gordon.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to ask you both, because this is the first time, like I said, we've gotten Detective Batman, honestly gotten
100%
real
Batman.
Detective
Batman. Real Detective Batman.
And so like not knowing that aspect, because I know you guys aren't the biggest comic readers, of this stuff. So like getting it now, I mean, how do you think it impacts the character in retrospect? I'll let Jose start, I guess, here.
What was the question again? Sorry?
Like Detective Batman, like not having that experience in a past film, now seeing it in a film, how do you think that impacts it? Is that something that you think that they should never go without, I guess, or is that something that you could see a movie being done without it now? I don't know.
I feel like it was always inevitable. I feel like we were always going to get it, and I feel like we should always get. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who love detective shows and movies and stuff like that. So I feel like the detective side of Batman that we got in this movie was inevitable. We're always going to get, and I feel like a lot of people are going to like. And for future movies to come, I feel like they need to do a lot more of it, because it just makes you think more, and it gets your brain really flowing and thinking, and really makes you think outside the box. Because it's the suspense and thrill of it. It not only is there's always action when it comes to detective stuff. At the same time, it also makes you think a lot. So I feel like that's very prevalent and very useful when it comes to movies and shows. So I feel like actually seeing this very detective side of Batman with Robert Pattinson was very prevalent and very good to use. I just feel like we probably could have gotten it sooner, but the fact that we've already got the fact that we got it now is great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. So
yeah, go ahead, Dave. Detective Batman.
Yeah, I was a big fan of it. I like that the way that they fleshed it out, and it was you got to see the work of it.
Yeah.
For the most part, which is what I
Exactly.
really enjoyed. One of the cringiest things for me in movies is when they're trying to solve a mystery, and it's like, oh, the Jaguar, is it talking about a car? Not a car, a club over on the east side, and he knows it immediately. So I like that we get to see the work of Detective Batman. He just doesn't know everything.
I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you.
If it wasn't for you
Meddling
meddling
kids.
kids. So I really like the work of it, and that kind of segues into another part of this movie that I really loved. Like I said, with it being so real, was that I really like Robert Pattinson's Batman's like setup, kind of in like the abandoned subway almost, and everything's kind of like military comp computers.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really didn't like about Christian Bale's Batman was just like, he's rich, he's supposed to be the richest man in Gotham, but also like the economy is really rough
Yeah.
in this area, and he has like stuff that Elon Musk can only dream of attaining, with his Batmobile being a tank. So I love the very real aspect of like, he's working out of a subway on like military computers. His Batmobile isn't like some crazy tank, it's just a freaking like the craziest muscle car you've ever seen, armed to the teeth, bulletproof, with a jet on the back of it. Like, I really love the real aspect of this. Just, again, he's beaten up, he's making do with what he has money, but again, Christian Bale's Batman is like 10 times richer than freaking Elon Musk, which makes me think the whole movie,
Bale would
like,
have
who the hell is this guy, man?
Bale would have just called a jet and booked it, and Pattinson is doing what he has around him. He's using the resources.
To bounce off that, it's the same thing with Ben Affleck. Like, he seems like the richest guy, and he's got like jets and a Batmobile that has machine guns and stuff. Whereas Robert Pattinson, what's funny is that when I was watching this movie, I was expecting Robert Pattinson to just bring out some machine guns out of his Batmobile, but the fact that he didn't was nice. I really enjoyed that. And to bounce off what Dave was saying, I liked how he was rich, but at the same time, like, his stuff was very like mediocre. I guess mediocre in a sense.
I think it's consistent too, because you just brought up the perfect point of him not having like machine guns in his car, and that's one thing that killed me when I did rewatch The Dark Knight the other day. Is like, this dude has missiles. He won't kill anyone, but he has missiles in his freaking military grade Batmobile. And like this, I almost died laughing because it was like missiles intimidate mode, and I was like, oh my god, dude, this guy's a freaking missiles that he can't use. He's got that,
it rises. He's got that like wheel that like spins in an impossible way. It's fucking cool. I'm not trying to say it's not, but it's not this movie, and this movie takes a different step there. Yeah.
I hate to. I mean, I've done this. I mean, we've quoted from a bunch of other movies that this kind of bounces off of. But I mean, when Dave was saying about working at a subway, it almost reminds me of Sorcerer's Apprentice, where he was working out of this abandoned underground subway.
Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, it just because he said underground subway. So
basically the same movie.
It's really not. It's really not a movie mornings episode if Jose doesn't talk about Sorcerer's Apprentice. So I should expect nothing less at this point. Like, honestly,
look, he said underground subway, and it literally
compare it to Money Heist.
The movie. Look, I will if you want me to. But
no.
Let's not. We're good.
No, but he said underground subway in the first movie that popped in my head was Sorcerer's Apprentice because he worked out of an underground subway tunnel.
Actually, I thought of Joker because of the Joker scene where he was shooting those guys in the subway. That's true, what I thought.
But, but
that's happening in the background,
because my nostalgia, my nostalgia ass just thought of Sorcerer's Apprentice, where he was working out of an underground subway to stay like very unknown and underground. So it's like the same thing here.
It's like somebody made a bet with you that you could not work Sorcerer's Apprentice into every episode of Movie Mornings. And you are
look.
That's how Jose's like, yo, I'm a legend, dude. Watch this. Sorcerer's Apprentice is gonna be dropped in this podcast.
From the day that I've started this podcast, from the day that I started this YouTube channel, I've only mentioned Sorcerer's Apprentice maybe 3 times.
Yeah,
And I've been at this for 6 months, and I've only mentioned Sorcerer's Apprentice like 3
I
times.
don't know.
Okay?
We would have to really track. I think it's been a lot more.
No, I have not. No, I have not seen it. I have not said it more than 3 times.
I think it's been a lot more.
On YouTube. I have not said it more than 3 times. Maybe off camera, yes,
Off
but on
camera,
camera,
it's all the time, obviously.
on camera, I'm pretty sure I've only said it like 3 or 4 times. But I was just gonna say, because he mentioned off underground subway, and it just reminded me because he worked underground to stay silent and not known. It's the same thing here with Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne.
It reminded me of Ghostbusters too, because
Yeah.
I'm a classic, but you could think of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. It's,
Look, I really enjoyed that movie, and I will quote that movie to the day I
Fair.
die. How about that?
Fair.
But like I said, I mean, Bruce Wayne, Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne here worked underground because he wanted to stay anonymous, just like in Sorcerer's Apprentice. That's why I brought it up. This conversation has been a lot longer than it needed to be. So we'll just leave it at
Real
that.
Jose over here.
I'm sorry I brought it up. How about that? Okay.
Just split the winnings with me, and we're good. I promise.
Okay.
But look, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, man.
What do you think? I got paid by Disney to say this or something?
Maybe. I don't know. It could be.
I would.
Yeah.
I wish. I honestly wish.
Definitely not
could.
Disney. You would not be hyping up a DC movie if you were getting checks from Disney.
Oh,
I'll
no.
tell you that. So
But
definitely
that's
not.
the thing is Disney's the only company that would pay me to say it, because Sorcerer's Apprentice is now technically under Disney.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I wish I was getting paid by them. Fuck.
Go ahead. Dave.
I had a question for the two of you guys. For me, I wanted to ask you guys about the visuals. Kind of like I just said, the Batmobile. This is definitely my favorite Batmobile. I freaking love it. But how do you guys think about how everyone looked? I know we love the way the Penguin looks. I really love the way that Robert Pattinson's Batman looks. Some people I talked to that, again, love DC. Wasn't a big fan of, like seeing the eyeshadow like under his mask. I actually loved that it was obviously visible. Loved the look of him, loved his suit, loved the Batmobile. But I was just wondering what you guys thought about the visuals of all the characters in here in the Batmobile.
Yeah, well, as a big fan of the costume design of Nicolas Cage in Sorcerer's Apprentice, I would have to say that first off, he would no. I look.
I quit.
Fuck you, Dom. Fuck you.
No, look, I think that this costume was great. Like on Batman, for example, like it's a cool costume, man. It's black. Yeah. When it comes to costume design in general, it fits the world. Like Catwoman's as well. I mean, yeah, it just fits the world. It's basic. You know what I loved about Catwoman's is basic. It looks like she cut up a beanie, or a face mask or sock hat, or
I was gonna say it almost reminded me of like Spider-Man's basic uniform. That kind of like just basic ass shit. Like, at first I wasn't thrilled about her costume because it literally just was like some kind of robber mask that she cut up to show her eyes. But then as I started watching the movie more, I started appreciating it more.
Yeah.
What I also liked about this movie, I don't know if you guys kind of picked this up, was his eyeshadow thing was only shown every time he took off his mask.
Yeah.
Because then like he'd probably go like shower or whatever, and then it would be gone. It was literally only in like as soon as he took off the mask that you would see the eyeshadow stuff. Yeah. Which I really dug and really appreciated that. That was really cool.
Well, I'll say this too really quick when it comes to his costume. Like when he was kind of walking out in the beginning to take down the guys, and you can like, first of all, that was dope when you could just like hear the footsteps before he even came out. Oh my god,
dude,
so menacing.
That was honestly it sent chills down my spine. It was sick.
When he came out, like I looked at it and I was like, oh, that costume is so dope. It plays really well. But the more the movie went on, I kind of like stopped thinking about it more and more, to the point where I almost suspect if the costumes were shitty, I would have liked this movie just as much. It honestly just doesn't matter.
Fair enough.
If the movie was made, everything was the same, but the costumes were shitty.
Could've been
and
neon
luckily
pink.
they weren't. But yeah, but I suspect that I would have liked it just as much.
It could have been rainbow tie-dye. We still would have loved it.
I think if the rest of it was made the same, I don't think it would have had that much of an impact.
They could have all been wearing LGBTQ rainbow flag colored costumes, and we would have liked it as much.
It's possible. I'd have to see that example to know, but yeah. Yeah. I don't know, Dave, did you enjoyed it all then? I mean,
Yeah, I really enjoyed it all. I mean, it was good to see that Batman's neck finally wasn't stiff like freaking Christian Bale's. That looks like it's in a neck harness or something, like
Yeah.
he got surgery or something. So I really like the look of it. Again, I like the obvious look of being able to see his eyeshadow.
Yeah.
In past ones, they kind of try to make it like blend in a little bit. I like that he was obviously wearing it
Yeah.
the entire time. I like, I got to say for like,
It made it darker.
Ben Affleck was very buff, like as a person and as a Batman, he was super jacked. I appreciate that, like the build of Robert Pattinson's Batman, where he's very athletic build. He's pretty tall, got big broad shoulders, but he's not just like absolutely the most buffed bodybuilder ever.
Yeah.
And obviously, like I said, the Batmobile is my favorite by far. I appreciate.
Yes, Batmobile's my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate finally having just like a super sweet muscle car, consistent, not covered in freaking missiles you can't use.
Low tech.
Low tech, and again, just realistic for the fact of like someone who's even as rich as him is just going to be like, okay, what is the best car that I could deck out, make bulletproof, get in new windows, and make this thing go as fast as possible. I mean, that's what someone would reasonably do. They wouldn't be going for a Lambo either, because crumple zone on that thing's going to be trash when you hit somebody. That's not going to be steel reinforced, can't handle that weight. But yeah, the heavy duty muscle car of it, beautiful. Love the Batmobile. And in terms of the other characters, I'm trying to think here. I mean, the Riddler, his outfit was freaking great.
So cool.
And again, one of the things that I think actually helped his performance was the mask that he wears. Helped, I think, a lot of like the really creepy breathing he kept doing. Again, something about when he's attacking someone and he does that creepy like breathing and groaning was like, what the fuck is happening right now? This is so uncomfortable to watch.
He actually taped that around his head, Paul Dano, to where it was uncomfortable for him. So I can, imagine that was.
Oh my, wait, for real?
Yeah, 100%. You can look this up. I think it was on Fallon or something. He was talking about it.
I can appreciate that even more now. The fact, like, I think the Riddler's costume was probably my favorite out of everyone's. Like it made you fear him in a way, and like make you just kind of get like chills down your spine. Every time he just appeared on the screen, it just made you get this like creepy sensation. And the breathing, like you said, Dave, was very creepy and suspenseful, and just his
body language.
Exactly. I think his character was my favorite throughout this entire movie. Like he was just
well, it's so different than any other Riddler we've seen in the past too, though. And that's the other reason I love it more. Yeah,
and that's where it makes me appreciate his version of the Riddler, and it is my favorite Riddler ever. I mean, he just brought something different and was just phenomenal throughout the entire movie. Like his costume exactly as well. Like it was great.
And he almost has this like admirable incompetence about the way that he when he attacks people. You see, how unpredictable it sets the stage for how unpredictable he is in the whole movie. When you get the intro with him killing the mayor and he's standing there perfectly silent and patient, and then the second that it's time to pounce, it almost feels like rushed. It almost feels like it's happening in a second, as if he wasn't prepared for it. He has his weapon ready to go. But again, he just goes from so relaxed and chilled to just the pure emotion of just murdering the mayor, that again, it keeps you really on edge and creeped out and like, what the fuck, man?
I was gonna say, like the scene where you can see like him standing right behind the mayor was creepy as hell. And his whole presence throughout this entire movie is very creepy, and it shows this like psychotic, messed up dude. Like it's like
I was so happy with it too, because that's one of the things I judged harder than anything else was, I was willing to forgive Robert Pattinson for Twilight, because I'd seen him in, I think it was The King. Was that the movie he was in? I think it was The King that he was in, that he did a really good job in. And I saw a little bit of him in Tenet, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna give him a second shot. I was judging, a lot of the, not necessarily the casting choices, but I just didn't know how everyone was going to fit. But one of the things I saw beforehand was the Riddler, the way he looked. I was like, man, I just don't feel like that's that menacing. When I saw the early shots of the movie, I was instantly like, oh shit, I was wrong. That's really creepy. That's up there with Heath Ledger for sure. That's one of the greatest villains I've ever seen.
Yeah, the movie was The King.
Okay, yeah, I thought that's what it was called. There's one kind of named like it that's a TV series, and they're both, I think, on Netflix is where I saw it. So yeah, but in The King, he did a very good job in there. So I was like, okay. And now, of course, he is fully forgiven for being a part of Twilight by being the best Batman I could ever ask.
And that's what I hope, and I think a lot of people will forgive him. From Twilight to this, I feel like a lot of people will forgive him, because again, he's outdone himself in this movie. It's the best. I think it's the best role that he's had so far. 100%.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And I just obviously can't wait to see what's in store for him next as the Batman. What's to come with him in the future.
I mean,
We'll
I
see.
remember seeing the movie The Rover, and like just being so blown away by the guy. Like I was like, oh my gosh, this was like a performance of such range. And then came like Good Time, and The King, he was great in as well. I agree. We do have a new reaction here from a friend of the show. I was going to read it out because I just got permission. So if you guys were interested in Sammy Ramirez's
Give it to me.
reaction.
Oh,
Sammy.
yeah, Sammy.
Yeah, friend of the show. So
What's up, Sammy?
What's up, Sammy?
we'll go ahead and read a reaction. And so here we go. I'm just going to read it verbatim. So the reaction starts here. So, okay, listen, I like the Batman a lot, but also didn't love it. Just in general, I still really liked it, though. I can see all the pieces of the puzzle and can see how they fit together, but I just can't quite put them together. Like the pieces are there, but not actually clicking to form the finished puzzle. I like everything about the way it was made, technically, but just feel like there isn't a strong core theme or element to bring me along for the ride. So while there are cool things happening, I don't know why they are happening or why I should care other than it looks cool. I felt a little messy, lacking a good answer when I was... punctuation is our friend here, Sammy. Lacking a good answer when I was... Oh, and I was like, so what? It was good, though. It was good, just lacking for me. Like the whole time, I was like, okay, cool, but why? And I do like the darker detective parts, but still feel like a lot of cool things happened for nothing. Well, Sammy, I hope you're watching the spoiler review because we did piece a lot of that together for you, I hope. So, but like I said, not everybody's going to have the same reaction that we did to the film. It's inevitable. There are going to be people that want something more out of it. And I mean, when it comes to the element of not being able to piece it together, I think a lot of the stuff we've answered already, in this review as to why we think it's great. But I thought it was a really interesting example, which is why I asked her to read it, of, not everybody's going to be as high on this as we are, unfortunately. But it's better than her being completely down on it, I guess, But,
that is true.
So I'll take it.
Again, this is, this movie is very, comes down to opinion. I mean, people are going to like it, people are not. And that's, I guess that's as long as people that aren't for it have, reasons specifically why they're not for it or don't like it, as long as they're not like, oh, I just don't like it. And then you ask like, why don't you like it? Oh, I just don't like it. If you have if you have specific reasons why you don't like it, then cool. We can have, our disagreements and our talks, which I can, appreciate. I guess I can appreciate from people. It is what it is. People are going to like it and some people aren't. It's all opinion based and stuff like that. So, I'm glad that she came with like her own like reasons and stuff as to why she didn't really like it that much. So yeah.
One of the things I like about the Riddler's character that I thought in the movie answered why everything was happening, that I liked even better than the Joker, that I thought they tied off better, was that even though the fact that he's actually a crazy person is a good boost for what's happening, I thought it did a really good job of explaining the background of his really, without going too overboard or deep into it, of his life in the orphanage and seeing this outcasted point of view of the jealousy almost grow within him of people like Bruce Wayne, especially like I said in that interrogation room and everything, and you see him start to complain about, oh, poor Bruce Wayne, isn't everything so hard from the freaking ivory tower? And you start to really, and you don't see it at first, but then you start to really get the motivation as to, okay, it really makes sense now why he's going after all these big politicians, leaders.
It's because they have money.
They
have money, and
they have money. He
suffered.
envies them. He envies their perfect life. He envies the fact that these people go on TV and complain about their issues. And there's people in the orphanages that don't have parents. Babies are dying. They don't even,
and they some of them just end up in the streets.
They all end up in the streets. They're not taken care of. I think that's something that it tapped. It's similar to the Joker, but it tapped into way better in terms of showing us the motivation as to why he's this pissed off and emotional and everything. And obviously the fact that he grew up in the orphanage and didn't have a family, whereas even Joaquin had his mother. This guy had really nobody. And that's why he's this screwed up.
Yeah. This one taps more into detail when it comes to like someone who lived in the orphanage and didn't have anyone at all. I mean, really actually suffered. Whereas, you know, he's gone for these people who had families and have all this money, really haven't actually suffered. Don't know
Especially
what
with the renewal project falling through, which was, you know, everything to him, because that was his life. That was the second chance, and that being taken from him, and just knowing that everybody else has gotten that taken from him is harsh for him to take. And you know, when you're growing up in an orphanage on the streets of Gotham, this crime ridden with no parents, your morals are going to go somewhere, and you're going to get kind of crazy.
Yeah.
you're going to go psycho for sure.
I have another
Like-
reaction here from another friend of the show, if you guys don't mind. This
Jeez,
is from
definitely. That's great.
Our friend Mark Earhart, who
Hey,
wanted to add that
Mark.
he spent 3 hours for trying to process this movie. But he did say, I thought Robert Pattinson did a really good job, and I was really impressed. I had extremely low expectations. In fact, I was extremely skeptical. I don't know anyone more skeptical than me. I thought he was going to suck. I thought this movie was going to suck, and I'm glad that it didn't. I'm glad that it didn't. I truly am. Definitely would not write him the best Batman, not even close, but he was really good ranking him at this moment. It's kind of hard. I will put him somewhere in the middle, but overall, a fantastic movie. The car was really cool, certainly not the best Batmobile, but still very cool. And Catwoman, well, let's just say I was enchanted by her. Can't say she was my favorite, of course. Michelle Forever will always be my favorite, and I love her. Hathaway, or I love Anne Hathaway, I'm sorry. But this new one was pretty damn good, and a pretty good ranking of maybe tied for second with Hathaway. So it sounds like we do agree, Dom, that this was a pretty fantastic movie. The 3-hour runtime was pretty long. I did feel there were certainly a few scenes where they could have cut down to give maybe a little better timing. Certainly cut maybe 10 or 15 minutes out of the runtime for sure. I wouldn't have cut a lot, but enough to make it more comfortable, or make it a little longer, make it a little shorter, maybe he meant, and give us an intermission. I would be all for an intermission, or give us an intermission now at the 90-minute mark or something. Lots of people getting up, went to the bathroom after the 2-hour mark in my theater. I did not get up, but a lot of people did. Then he added, I think the biggest disagreement that we probably have is the Riddler. You obviously loved him extremely much, and I didn't really have any love for him. I didn't think the actor was bad or bad at acting. I thought it was an interesting take. I just didn't fall in love with that character like you described. Excuse me. I really liked the movie. I think in a lot of ways it felt like a Saw movie. I felt like the Riddler was definitely trying to be Jigsaw, which I was completely fine with, except after watching the Saw series of films, I can't really like Jigsaw a lot. Sort of hated him. I think the first time I saw him, but I sort of hated him the first time I saw him, but he certainly grew on me. I kind of feel like the same way about the Riddler now as I probably did about Jigsaw when I first saw Jigsaw. Maybe I'll end up loving him down the road if he's in sequels. Yeah, this is probably not the Batman movie to take your kids to, at least little kids. So there you go. That's from Mark Earhart. So
unless you're a cool parent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So again, positive. So that's always nice to hear. But yeah, Mark, I hope you're watching the review, and hopefully we addressed a lot of the things that you have concerns about. But one more thing I wanted to add, and then we'll start to wrap her up here, guys. So Robert Pattinson. I mean, Jose, you know my favorite aspect of the Ben Affleck Batman is he's Bruce Wayne, Bruce Wayne is the masked Batman is who he is. And that's what Pattinson had brought here. I think that's why it's so effective. And I think you guys could probably agree with that.
I mean,
yeah,
I think Robert Pattinson's Batman was 10 times better than Ben Affleck's, and
agree.
it's no shade thrown to Ben Affleck. I think it was just the way that his character was written in the movies that he was in. You know, Batman versus Superman, Justice League, and those movies. I don't know. I didn't really like Ben Affleck's Batman that much.
Yeah.
Again, no shade to Ben Affleck. I think that they really did justice with no pun intended. They did justice with Robert Pattinson here in
This
this
is the
movie
real dawn of justice. Anyway, sorry.
exactly. I honestly do feel like they hit the nail in the coffin with not the nail in the coffin, but they hit the nail
It's a different saying.
with they hit the nail with this Batman for sure in this
Mhm.
movie with Robert Pattinson. They really, brought the Batman that we've all wanted for a very long time. So yeah, honestly, give me more of this. Give me more Robert Pattinson Batman because this movie was incredible.
Yeah.
Honestly, loved it.
Yeah, for sure. Dave, did you have anything on that? The approach that Pattinson took and how, Bruce Wayne was really the facade and how Batman was the mask and how effective that was.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. And, one of the things I don't get that has been portrayed a few times is the almost like reluctancy to be Batman. Someone who's this much of a vigilante is going to be driven. And that's one of the things I really loved about this Batman and why he is my favorite is you see the drive, you see the motivation, you see the character motivation of why he wants to be Batman. And then I like when he comes to the understanding of realizing his father's past and everything. When he talks to Alfred, he still has the understanding of, I'm still the only guy for this job and I have to follow this through. It doesn't matter the sins of my father, what the truth was, what happened. That doesn't change the fact that people out there need me and that I'm the one that could stop this. And, again, that's another realization you almost get from the monologue that he comes over is the fact that, I'm only one guy. Am I even making a difference? The city is more crime than ever. And he comes to the realization of, with this Riddler guy, I'm the only one that could see this through, wrap this up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about drive. It's about power.
Yeah.
Perfect walkout moment right there.
Absolutely.
But look, who would have thought that Robert Pattinson would be our favorite Batman? That's kind of crazy,
Not me. That's why
that's what I mean. Like of all people, Robert
with this last guy's review. Sorry, what was your buddy's name?
Mark.
Okay, Mark. Sorry, I want to give you respect, Mark. I went into this movie crazy skeptical. I was not looking forward to this. I was actually still looking forward to the Penguin series regardless. But I mean, I was not really looking forward to Robert Pattinson's Batman. The 3-hour runtime I thought was going to be wasted. I didn't like the looks of the Riddler I was getting much. I thought I was honestly going to go into this movie and be on my phone the whole time. So I was pleasantly surprised. I'm glad that you liked it too, but I just happen to very much so love this. And this is probably the most off guard I've ever been caught by a movie in terms of I didn't think I was going to like this, and I really freaking loved it. And I'm suggesting it to everybody.
I'm not going to lie. I 100% agree with you. Obviously, I haven't seen any of the other movies that Robert Pattinson has done, which Dom has told me he's done phenomenal in those other movies. So, I mean, all I had really to base Robert Pattinson off was Twilight. So I wasn't really hopeful for him as the Batman of all people. But I was pleasantly surprised. I really, really enjoyed him as Batman, and I obviously, I mean, he's my favorite Batman now, and I can't believe I'm saying these words right now, but they're coming out of my mouth. And yeah, man, I was pleasantly surprised. The runtime was perfect. Like if they were,
I was really enjoyable. I mean, I'll always take an intermission. Like I said, I had to really run and take a piss, and like I took off, man, because like I said, the whole movie I was in suspense. I didn't want to miss one thing. So when I had to use the bathroom, I really had to run. So I'm always down for an intermission in a movie that long. But I wouldn't cut any of the runs. I mean, maybe he said 10-15 minutes. Maybe there was 10 or 15 minutes to cut, but I'm not upset that extra 10 or 15 minutes was there because there was no part of the movie that I thought like, oh, this is so burning or this shouldn't be here.
Yeah, I mean,
like we said, the club scenes was like one of the slowest parts of the movie, and still even then they were pretty engaging and even at times funny, especially with the twin bodyguards there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I didn't see myself, I didn't go on my phone once. I didn't, see myself bored at any time. Like the runtime was perfect. I enjoyed every single minute of the movie. I really have no complaints for this movie. It was phenomenal, and I recommend every single person.
Oh my God. I think this is the first time we've all agreed.
I know.
I think honestly it is, and I'm happy because look, honestly, I don't know what's going on right now, but Matt Reeves, congrats. You've made a movie that we've all agreed on. And look, man, hats down to this movie. It was honestly amazing. And
hats off.
Hats off to you.
Let me say this last thing on the casting point. There are many blockbusters that get made, and there are many casting decisions that get made. Some of them have been very smart in the past in these big movies, but sometimes, most of them have been actually, but there are times when I know for a fact names have been thrown out and a studio will immediately say they won't sell tickets. So the fact that the studio took the risk on Robert Pattinson, Paul Dano, Zoe Kravitz for these big roles that are typically played by a bigger name is very cool and something I want to commend. And just the fact that this movie got made in the first place.
I was gonna say, and it obviously paid off because I mean the movie's doing phenomenal right now. I mean,
Yeah.
they took the fact that they took that risk and it has paid off makes the movie that much better. Like, hats off to them for making those risks and casting who they casted, and the fact that it's paid off that well is phenomenal.
I agree,
honestly.
Look, guys, I'll give Jose and Dave a closing statement here, and then we're gonna go ahead and get the hell out of here. So go ahead, guys. Who wants to go first here?
Dave, you go first.
Okay.
Yep. Again, DC, congratulations. You won me over. I love the realness of this movie. I like to see a Batman that didn't walk through everyone like, beating the crap out of Superman. I like to see him take shots. I like to see him down on the count. I love to see the darkness of the film. I like to see the realness. I felt like, this was only a city away from me. I felt like this is something that could have happened in the real freaking world, which is one of the first times I felt that for a Batman movie. So great job. Again, a must see. This might not be the greatest, if you got a fish brain and you're a big Marvel fan, the newer stuff, you might not be able to comprehend the fact that there's things such as puzzles or problems you need to solve in a movie. But that was something I very much so loved in this. Super inspired by it. DC, you got all these great universes. Just keep them what they are. Give us new themes, new styles, new movies, new characters coming up. But keep this world dark, keep it real, and let's see what you guys do in the world of Peacekeeper and Justice League 2. Great job.
Hey.
Peacemaker. I think it's a Peacekeeper.
Peacemaker, yeah.
Go ahead, Jose.
Doctor Strange is back. Oh no.
Go ahead,
No,
Jose.
yeah. I mean, Dave said it all. I mean, DC.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would have preferred DC movies to Marvel movies, but in this present time right now, I'm preferring everything DC really to Marvel, which is very rare for me to say, but I mean, I just am. Robert Pattinson surprised the hell out of me as Batman. Keep giving me all that. All the other characters, Zoe Kravitz and Paul Dano and Colin Farrell, everyone in this movie did phenomenal.
Gordon, Jeffrey Wright.
Exactly him. Yeah, exactly. He was phenomenal. He was great. The DC universe right now is killing it. The darkness, like you said, Dave, is incredible. Keep giving me more of that, like, dark, criminal, sadistic, twisted stuff. I mean, it's great stuff. It's stuff that we don't get these days, and we need more of. Keep doing what you guys are doing. Keep giving me more of these amazing movies, like the Joker is also dark and twisted. This Batman movie, just keep giving me more of that stuff, and I'll keep being on your guys' side, because honestly, this was some phenomenal stuff, and I can't wait to see what's to come with Peacemaker and out in this Colin Farrell Penguin, HBO Max series, all the other stuff you guys have to come, and I just wish you guys the best.
Yeah. Look, guys. For myself, I second everything that these two gentlemen said. That's a first. But yeah, I definitely do. And I love that I am right now. And I love that we're also enthusiastic about it. And it just goes to show you this conversation of people won't understand this, or this won't sell tickets. That needs to stop. There have been many successful movies like this made in the past that have made money, and people will turn up to see great movies. If you have a great idea, don't doubt it, because it goes against the norm.
You'll eventually get a company that'll want to make this movie happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
So just keep trying with every company until that one company. Look, just because like 20 companies don't want to do this movie, don't just be like, okay, cool, this company doesn't want to do it, I don't want to do it. No, just keep pushing until you find that one company that is going to want to make this movie, because it'll make the difference.
Yeah.
And if you're Jose, by the way, you miss 100% of the shots that you do take. Mr. Sorcerer's Apprentice over here. So
yes. Jose getting all the motivation right now from Sorcerer's Apprentice, but he is right. You do miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and take the risk. I'm telling you, if you're a studio, take the risk. If it's a script that people are enthusiastic about, take the risk. If it's a script that you have phenomenal actors, regardless of how big or small, enthusiastic about, take Take the risk, make the movie. It will work if it's great. And that's basically what it comes down to. And this movie just showed us that you can do something that's outside of the norm and make it work. And this is amazing. I love this. And this is in the conversation of the best comic book movies ever made. It's now my favorite Batman movie. The casting all around was phenomenal. The performances all around were phenomenal. There's probably going to be some Oscar talk, I would imagine, later on, down the line for this movie. I wouldn't see it any other way. So I think that this movie is just too damn good, and you guys need to go see it. And for people, I don't know why you're still here, but for people who didn't see it and and aren't typically comic book fans, I mean, this is a movie that you should go see. Because this might be this might be the one for you. This might be the one that was made for you. If you're into like mystery, suspense thrillers with some like horror flair, this might be the film for you. Yeah, exactly. This might be the film for you. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here with all that said. Before we go, Dave, where can people find you?
You could find me at Snapchat or on Snapchat and Instagram and Stereo at BKingDavid.
All right. And we thank you for coming here, sir. And thank you for talking about the movie as long as you did. And Jose, where can people find you?
You can find me at Type 1 Latino, all lowercase, all together on all socials and on Snapchat and on Stereo.
Yeah.
And the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Hey,
he's at all the screenings. If there's a screening anywhere, he's there.
Your dollar theater, he's there.
I just flew to Belgium to get a pre-screening to Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Oh yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining. I've been Dom Martino. You can find me on Twitter at Dom_Martino_ on Instagram Dom_Martino_ official. If you want to, or actually please do, follow the Twitter and Instagram pages for Anorax Entertainment, Anorax Official across both platforms. Head on over to Spotify. Go follow the Anorax Entertainment podcast feed. We have Movie Mornings and Imperial Order going on there. Imperial Order will come back this week, come hell or high water. So just wanted to let you guys know that it's been a little bit, but we're going to bring that back to you guys this week as well.
I was going to say too, Dave and I will be doing for sure a Stereo tomorrow.
All
Sunday.
right, great.
Oh, yeah,
sure.
I'm down with that for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Look, I'm down.
We'll nail out a time right after this. We'll be on Stereo tomorrow. You thinking more daytime or nighttime?
Nighttime, because I've got a barbecue tomorrow from 10 to 3 p.m.
There we go. Catch us tomorrow night on Stereo. Go ahead and add us. I'm BKingDavid. What's your username, Jose?
I'm Type 1 Latino, all lowercase, all together.
There you go, guys. If you want some more of this, go ahead. Look us up on Stereo. Give us a follow, and you'll get that notification when we jump on and start the chat.
100%.
Yeah, follow them as well. Definitely do that, guys. It's going to be a great time, I'm sure. So,
should we give them a time? What time are you thinking?
Yeah,
no, we'll
figure that out later. Tweet it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining. We're gonna wrap up now. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, hit that bell for notifications. If you're on Spotify, make sure you do that as well. If you're on YouTube, go follow us on Spotify. I've been Dom Martino once again. I was joined here today by Jose Espinel and David Tresch, and I appreciate those guys coming along for the ride here. This has been a spoiler review of the Batman, and we'll talk to you guys later.
See ya.